A wee disclaimer here, we're not film experts. We're doing this for fun and to try and shine a light on films which are seen as rotten on movie review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, and to poke fun at them as well. It's a chance to highlight that the critical consensus isn't always everything.
We'd also like to remind everyone that we're about to go over all the film's details, including the plot, so there will be spoilers. Also, we just want to mention it's okay to disagree with our opinion. If you do, you can tell us and become part of the discussion. With that in mind, thanks for joining us and enjoy.
Oh, and another wee thing. I'm partial to dropping a few swears from time to time, but this week's movie has slightly stronger swears than normal. As such, the episode obviously reflects this. We're talking F-bombs. That's about as bad as it gets. So now that that's out the way, let's get on with it, eh? Hello. Welcome back to Rank Rotten, a Rotten Movies podcast. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Kat.
How are you doing today, Kat?
I'm doing good, thank you, yes. Had a busy weekend.
Yeah, we did. It was our anniversary the other day. It was lovely.
Yeah, had a lovely time.
Yeah, we went down to our local favourite restaurant here in our town, and it's an Italian restaurant and it's lovely.
Yeah, the food there's always top drawer.
Today, we're going to be talking about Lake Placid and giant crocodiles.
Yeah, the ultimate creature feature.
Absolutely, it's fun, man. I had a good time with this when I was a kid. I hadn't seen it for a while. But it was unsurprising that whilst we watched, a lot of the stuff popped up and I was like, oh, I actually know this more than I thought I did.
It's nice when you get that feeling.
Aye, totally. It's a wee bit of nostalgia, maybe it's a bit of a comfort film. Can you get that? Mm-hmm. Like I was just actually saying to you before we started recording about comfort TV shows.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with movies, you know?
Definitely, we've all got our go-tos.
Aye, okay, I think I know the answer to this. What's your, I'm no well, I'm sick, I'm going to put on a movie to rest with?
Oh, it's Basil the Great Mouse Detective,
Basil the Great Mouse Detective, I knew this. And for me, do you know what mine's is?
I want to say something like Frankenstein.
Well, yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be a far cry, but actually, for some reason, Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah. No, that
for some reason, Labyrinth. But then the last time I was really sick, I had tonsillitis and I was out for weeks. It was awful. But I was buying movies and I just ended up buying a string of Kurosawa films.
That's right, yeah.
So like all those old Japanese samurai movies, man, they're just so good. So like, I don't know, maybe I'm sick again, I'll do that.
Yeah, I think there's worse things. And also remember you went through your Pixar phase.
That was the same bout of illness. Mm-hmm. So I watched Toy Story 1, 2, 3 and 4. I watched both Incredibles, and it was the first time I'd seen the second one. I don't think you've seen that yet.
No, I've not.
So I watched those, and I watched Monsters Inc., Monsters University, which in my opinion is the better of the two, actually. And a bunch of others. But yeah, Pixar's another one, you're actually right, aye.
Yeah, so all good choices.
Totally. Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about Pixar, we're here to talk about giant crocodiles.
Woo!
Cool. So with that, let's get on with it. So, as discussed last week, this week's movie is Lake Placid.
Exciting.
It came out on the 16th of July 1999 in the US, but it came out on the 31st of March 2000 in the UK. I did not realise there was that much of a gap.
I also thought this was earlier for some reason.
Earlier in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very odd that there's that difference. But I guess back then, films tended to have a gap. Like, they'd come out in the US and then they'd come out here. The runtime of this film is about 1 hour and 22 minutes with a budget of $27 to $35 million.
Yeah, there was no accurate estimate.
Right, okay, fair enough. Even if we took it to the highest end of the scale, the film still made at the box office $56.9 million, which for the time was pretty good. Yeah,
that's a pretty good turnover.
Yeah, and, you know, they've made a bit of money on it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't have been an expensive film to make.
No, like it's quite close set and it's not got a huge cast, so...
Yeah, totally.
Sounds about right. It was directed by Steve Miner and was produced by Fox 2000 Pictures.
Fox 2000! Was that like, did they chuck the 2000 in there because it was Millennium?
I think,
to make it sound all like sexy.
Yeah, and I think it's a slightly separate company to 20th Century Fox.
Is it? All right.
Yeah, I suspect it's all to do with money.
Fox 2000. All owned by Disney now anyway. So.
Well, this is it. There are a couple of taglines for this film, which you know I always enjoy. You'll never know what bit you.
Nice. That's cool.
And my personal favourite is part mystery, part thriller, parts missing.
That's class.
So good. And I think that just mirrors the whole tone of the movie.
Yeah, the tone is light.
It is.
For a movie where we're seeing severed heads, body parts, stuff getting ripped apart, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of sarcasm.
The synopsis we found online for this film was 4 people attempt to stop a gigantic crocodile who is terrorising residents in Black Lake, Maine.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers the premise of the film.
You didn't really need very much more than that, do you?
Nah, does what it says in the tin.
Totally. Scores on the doors. Crazy here.
Yeah, so the tomatometer, 47%.
Yep, with the popcorn meter being a 10% less at
Yeah.
37%. That is mental.
It is. I find that really strange.
Yeah, because like most people I speak to about Lake Placid acknowledge the fact that it is essentially a shite film.
Yeah.
But love it.
That's
or
it.
like it, or at least find it entertaining and watch it on occasion because they're like, oh, Lake Placid's a good laugh.
That's it. People always talk about it quite fondly.
I certainly found that when I was doing a bit of research online, and I didn't look at IMDb or that. I just Googled Reddit, etc. What are people thinking? And people are generally like, oh, I like this movie. It's good fun. It's about a guilty pleasure or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's it. So I do feel like 37% on the popcorn meter is quite harsh.
With that, let's go on with the plot. So our film opens with beautiful shots, right, of a lake. Yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. Maine looks cool. It's no Maine. It's British Columbia and Canada.
That is unsurprising because Canada is gorgeous.
It is. Having been there and travelled through a little bit of it. We did a train journey from Toronto to Montreal.
Yeah.
Just honestly, I spent the whole time looking out the window.
It was stunning.
Aye, it was great. I didn't even read my book or whatever. I just literally sat and looked out the window and watched the man who was the train conductor entertaining children by literally spinning plates.
He was incredible.
It's like, you didn't get that on ScotRail.
No, you do not.
The first thing I noticed in this intro scene, and I'm going to lay in quite quickly here, is the really irritating rippling effects on the text. It was cheap, man.
It did look a bit cheap.
You didn't need to do it.
No, I think they did themselves a disservice.
They did. It's a silly addition that doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah. Very 90s though.
So this lake is Aroostook County, Maine.
Lovely.
And we see a wee guy scuba diving. Now, this guy is a fish and game officer by the name of Walt Larson. Don't worry, you don't need to remember his name because he's not going to live much longer. Right? He's scuba diving in Black Lake doing, what is he doing?
He is beaver-tagging, apparently.
Is that like a euphemism?
I don't think so because they're literal beavers.
Oh.
So I think he dives down and then pops his head up into their den to try and catch the beavers, and one of them dives out and it's like a little cheap jump scare right at the start.
It's like that, right? I'm going beaver tagging. Just sounds like something entirely different.
It does in a modern context, definitely. But I also thought, like, do you need scuba gear to do that?
And well, probably no. But at least you can stay under the water quicker.
I
Maybe he's got to have to
suppose.
chase beavers all day. Maybe he's no like appropriately equipped breath-wise to achieve such a task.
Maybe. But anyway, he was fully prepared for a long time underwater.
Totally. Well, anyway, he gets bitten in half, right?
Yeah, long story short, he gets bitten in half.
Long story short, deed, right?
But he is trying to return to the boat when the crocodile is chasing him.
Yeah,
And it just feels like the crocodile is going really slowly.
absolutely it does, aye.
Yeah, like, and I appreciate they're trying to build suspense, but I feel like a crocodile wouldn't be swim faster than that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the cheap jump scare, I noticed, I don't think it was a beaver, it's a tortoise.
Oh,
Because I've actually wrote in big capitals, terror tortoise. Because it's like, it's all quite, and then the tortoise just kind of, doom, and the tortoise, and you're like, oh God, it's a turtle. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, wow, okay.
aye, it was quite intense.
God, there's a lot going on in this lake. Eh?
There is. Hank is there too. Hank is a police, right? I think he's a sheriff, is he
He
not?
is the sheriff, yeah.
He's the sheriff of this town, right?
Aroostook County.
Aye, he's a sheriff, and he's gone with this guy for whatever reasons unknown, like in case there's dangerous beavers, maybe, I don't know. Right?
Yeah, not quite sure why
and he's there, and he's like, I love it because he's in the boat and he's listening to that song. I think it's actually I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family.
Okay.
What am I so afraid of? I'm afraid of that one.
I know the one.
And I know that song because I remember a lassie pop star in the 90s, maybe noughties, released a version of it, and her name was Casey. Do you remember that pop star?
No, I do not.
Casey was a pop star, a young lassie, and she released this song and she had like this one hit.
Oh, wow.
I think she maybe had another, but
Well,
aye. And so like that's what it reminded me, which is horrendous.
I was just thinking about when the crocodile attacks Walt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a crocodile that size would maybe swallow him whole.
This is a big crocodile.
It
But we
is
don't know it's
big
a crocodile right now.
We don't know that.
But this poor guy gets halved.
Yeah, he does.
Right? And basically, the practical effects here are class.
They're really good.
Right? that I miss this because now it's too easy to make a cheap horror movie or a creature feature, which this is, right? And just be like, well, I've just got to use cheap CGI.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think there's clearly been a lot of time and effort gone into this, and it stood the test of time.
It has.
Like, it's 25 years old for release in the UK anyway, and it still looks great.
It does. The guy's intestines are flying out in that.
Yeah.
It's pretty grim.
It is really grim as an opener anyway.
Yeah. So it's kind of sets the tone as well. Like, not only have you got this kind of cool sort of juxtaposition between Hank sitting in the boat listening to the Partridge Family and then there's this guy getting attacked by a crocodile and or beavers or a tortoise.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's quite, it does set the tone.
It does.
There's going to be people getting ripped apart in this, but we're going to be feeling all right about it because it's scary.
No, they kind of keep the levity quite high, given the subject matter.
So after this poor guy's been pure munched off a crocodile, well, we didn't know it's a crocodile.
Yeah.
Beaver or tortoise, maybe at this point. Right?
Could be.
Once this guy's been munched, we're then whisked to New York City.
Wonderful.
Again.
I know, there's a
We're always in New York with this podcast.
We must be getting frequent flyer miles.
This is not on purpose, eh?
No,
like, seriously,
just accidental.
We're kind of picking movies at random, although we now have requests, which we'll be looking into now.
Exciting,
so,
eh?
Very exciting. So we go to New York and we are at a museum where this lady, Kelly, played by Bridget Fonda,
Lovely.
is there. And she finds out, basically, by talking to her pal, that her pal has seen her boyfriend, who is some guy that works at the museum, who's I've seen in other films, but I didn't know his name because he's not in the film that much, right?
In the film, his name is Kevin.
He's a nurse, right? Because he's cheating on her, basically, with her pal.
Basically, yeah.
Who also works at the museum. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe no. I don't know if she works at the museum or not.
You get the impression she works in the museum.
Aye. Kevin, it's basically like, there's this tooth and they found it on this diver that's been pure eaten. Can you go and check it out? And she's like, well, why are you sending me all the way to Maine to check? I actually checked, by the way, right? Maine isn't that far from New York State.
Yeah.
I was
I
quite
remember
surprised.
you showing me the map. But yeah, I was surprised it was that close too, because you always get the impression it's kind of middle America.
Aye, I honestly did. And I'm sorry to our American friends, my American geography is pish.
Oh yeah,
right?
mine is terrible.
So like, I often like to Google to see where things are, and I'm learning slowly but surely. So
yeah.
Maine is not far, right? And anyway, regardless, it's far enough to be like, why are you sending me there?
Yeah,
to look at a tooth.
Especially, she clearly has quite an office-based role.
Yeah.
Like, it's clearly like a lot of, microscope lab work, so surely it'd be more sensible to send samples to her where she's got a lot of equipment.
This wifey isn't a field work kind of wifey.
She is not, and she makes that perfectly plain.
Well, anyway, I can't quite remember the context, Kat. Hopefully you can help. So for some reason, she is freaking out, right? And this is prior to finding out about the cheating with her boyfriend and this wifey, right? This other lass, right? And she's freaking out and she's hyperventilating and all the rest of it. It's quite a funny scene because she's like, and she's breathing like crazy, and her pal comes in and it's this whole thing.
Remember, Myra, you're the one who taught me about breathing.
Yes, but you're doing Lamaze. Are you giving birth? If you're upset, long, deep breaths.
Yeah, it's quite an intense opener for Kelly.
But what also makes us realise that Kelly is actually she's very highly strung.
Yeah, she's a total stress head.
She's freaking out about everything.
Absolutely. And also her pal is rubbish.
Well, she has the shittest pal in the world, considering she's cheating on her boyfriend for a start.
Yeah, absolutely. And she kind of treats it like, oh, I've got insider information, but in reality it's also, she gives all those rubbish excuses like, oh, the heart wants what the heart wants, and it's like, you're just
it is
being
all
rubbish.
like the worst shit, and that's another thing, like there's no depth here. And I'm not particularly looking for it in this movie.
Nah.
But this is just another example where you're like, for her to come up with all those textbook lines, I guess it's kind of to hammer home the point that her pal literally doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that she's clearly not a very good friend anyway, so she's not missing out.
So anyway, what I didn't understand was, what is Lamaze?
I think it's a breathing technique that's supposed to help you out when you're giving birth.
Ah, that makes sense. I've seen the birth breathing thing before.
Like the...
Aye. So we're back at Aroostook County for a sec, and we see that the fish and game officer, the lead fish and game dude, right? So the guy that got munched's boss, probably, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make that leap, right?
Yep.
He's basically been pulled into it now. And this guy is played by Bill Pullman.
Oh, he's great. I love Bill.
The president from Independence Day. He was also in quite a few things. He's in Spaceballs. He was in Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah, he was in While You Were Sleeping. Excellent film.
Aye, so this guy's been in quite a lot. You will recognise him, likely, especially from Independence Day. Come on.
Goodness, yeah. And
We will
also,
not go down without a fight. We will not take a shite in the night. Whatever it is he says.
yeah, he was really good. And I've never not enjoyed a movie he's been in.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty good.
Aye, he's funny, but he's definitely got a way, and I loved it in this.
Yeah, every character's pretty much.
But he's
played the
always
same.
like, when he talks. Do you think so?
Yeah, it's quite like that.
We jump around a little bit at this point because then we're back to the Dino Office is what I wrote down. 'Cause I did not realise that, Dino Office, aka museum.
Yeah.
Right? Kelly arrives in Maine and she's shown the body of the attack victim by Sheriff Hank. How do you say this name?
Keo, I think.
It sounds Irish.
Yeah, and I think it is supposed to be Irish because
Now,
obviously it's Brendan Gleeson.
It's Brendan Gleeson playing this part of the Brendan Gleeson.
He's wonderful.
Of many movies, including Harry Potter, where he plays Mad Eye Moody, or,
Banshees of Inisherin.
Banshees of Inisherin, which is awesome.
It's so good.
Loved that movie so much, and Brendan Gleeson plays an absolute raj in it. Like.
He really does.
But
It's excellent.
yeah, I mean, so there's definite. I'm not sure if it was by accident or not, but there's definitely an Irish twang still to his accent, and I'm thinking, is this because this guy's an Irish American maybe, or is he an Irish immigrant or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I think definitely the Irish American was not by accident, especially with a surname like Keo.
No.
I thought Brendan Gleeson is just brilliant in this film in general, but I really like these kind of opening scenes where he is just so grumpy.
Yeah, he's super grumpy, and as well as that, he's kind of like similar to Bill Pullman. There's a lot of going on.
Yeah, that kind of very middle-aged man, grumpy.
Maybe it's just what people from Maine sound like.
Maybe
They
something
talk
in
and
the
they're
water.
like, you know what I mean? But he's super grumpy, and it's class because she turns up, right, and then he's like, we need to go and check out the victim, and they're standing outside the morgue, and she's like, that's a morgue. And he's
Yeah.
like, that's a morgue, and he's like, aye. And she's like, is there a dead guy in there? And then he goes, that's where they keep them. It's class.
Honestly, it's all that. I love those sort of interactions between them.
Yeah. So when they go inside, the doctor then says kind of thing like, oh, pre-warning, this is pretty grim. And she's like, I need to see the body. I want to see the body. Now, bearing in mind, this wifey works at the Dino Office. She is not a dead body person, right?
No.
And the guy, like, the doctor's like, are you sure? And she's like, aye. And then he just whips the
Well, I've got a bit of beef about this, actually, because she lifts a sheet off the body.
Right.
Yeah. And she has got no PPE. She's got no personal protective equipment on whatsoever.
No.
No gloves, no apron, no mask, nothing. She
No,
goes
it's
in.
like they've literally let this woman off the street who says, oh, I'm for the Dino Office. So they've let her in.
Yeah.
And then she wanders in. And she's lifting up the sheets and that, but she has a peek at the body, so she obviously sees it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then she's like, I need to see it, the wound and that, and they're like, nah. And then he's like, are you sure? And she's kind of like, yeah, I'm sure. And then he just throws the sheet back to this body which has been bitten in half, literally has entrails hanging out. Mm-hmm. And you're like, would you just like kind of insist?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more procedures put in place here. Like, I think certainly from a public health point of view, not great for her safety, but also like I can imagine that she's probably contaminating quite a lot of the area from a scientific point of view.
True.
So,
But it's like, I socially, I would have just turned and went, this man has been halved.
he literally has been halved.
Right? So, just so you're aware, we didn't have the other half. We've not glued it back on just for your purposes because we don't have it.
Yeah.
Just maybe
They could have maybe gave her a briefing before she went in.
At this point, Hank basically calls her out and says, why are you here?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like, It's not clear for us either why she's there.
But it's like, it's really funny because he's basically like, so he says, I'm a little unclear as to why the museum would send somebody here.
You got a thing against museums?
No, I got nothing against museums.
Been in one?
And her comeback there is just gold. Right?
Oh, it is. This film is full of zingers.
Right. Her comeback is just gold. But again, kind of represents how snippy she actually can be.
Yeah, and she is a bit snooty
Aye.
about it all.
And then we're on the lake and she's walking about and stuff and she's like, oh, mosquitoes, I've got a thing about mosquitoes. And then I think later on she's got a thing about ticks, and then she's got a thing about heads and all the rest of it. Quite understandably, the last one, I guess.
Justifiably the heads. But yeah, she's clearly not a very outdoorsy woman.
No.
And it starts...
Well, she's from New York City, man. She's one of these New York City chicks.
Yeah, we've bumped into loads of those recently, clearly.
Okay, Cassie Webb.
Yeah. And she's just... You start to get the impression that she's been sent there just to get her away.
Oh, it's 100% the case. The guy sent her there to get her away from the place because he wants to canoodle with the other lassie.
Absolutely. She's a bit of an inconvenient truth, so...
But to be fair, right, mosquitoes, I didn't think I've seen a mosquito. Maybe I have when I've been away in Europe.
Probably.
Spain, possibly. We're in Florida, I think I've have them there. But
I'm not 100% sure because I know that...
Given that this is also the States, maybe there was mosquitoes in Florida and we just didn't see them.
Yeah, I think because we were mainly in the theme parks, a lot of the theme parks don't have stagnant water to try and reduce the amount of mosquitoes that are there. So I think if you were around a lake, there would probably be
there's a lot of water, but it's always moving. It's actually a fair point. I never really thought of that. Anyway, there's a deputy or a police who keeps saying to her, keeps calling her ma'am. And she basically has enough of it and she says, ma'am, it's not going to work.
If you call me ma'am one more time, I'll sue you. And with today's laws, it's possible.
Which is class. I'm not entirely sure you can sue somebody for calling you ma'am, though.
I don't know. I think it's even more heightened from then.
I don't know if this is hyperbolic. Our American friends tend to get the piss ripped out of them for suing people left, right and centre. Yes,
they are. The stereotype is that they're a very litigation-heavy nation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that's true. But I think it's a stereotype. I think it's a stereotype where people are like, an American person being like, I'm going to sue your ass. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that's true.
Did you just channel your Vince McMahon there?
Aye. You're fired. That was my Dane Vince McMahon.
Wow, that was quite scary and intense.
Thanks. I really put everything into that. The whole table here shook. Sorry.
Wow, you really went for it. I like it.
Perhaps our American friends can elaborate. Do you like to sue people all the time? I don't know if that's true.
Is it common? And could you sue somebody for calling you ma'am?
Yeah, probably not. I don't think you can.
But I think it's just another example of Kelly being quite highly strung.
Oh, aye.
I like this interaction as well, is because there was an unusual hierarchy in the order of the organisations. So it seems that the fish and game department are above the police.
What? I didn't even notice this.
Yeah, they have a discussion about it because Bill Pullman or Hank... No, sorry, I do apologise. It's Jack.
Yeah, he's Jack.
Yeah, Hank is the sheriff. So Jack is talking to Hank and very much states that, fish and game are the lead in this investigation here. Rather than the sheriff's office, which I found quite surprising.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. The hierarchy's wild over there, eh?
Yeah, I don't think there would be anybody above the police. So the three of them, so Jank.
Jank, give me a spank. Sorry.
The three of them, Jack, Hank and Kelly, go to see the only person who lives on the lake, and this is a lady called Dolores Bickerman, to see if she has seen anything.
Aye. Tell us who plays Dolores Bickerman.
Dolores Bickerman is played by the delightful Betty White.
It's amazing.
Oh, she's brilliant.
She's so great in this,
She's
man.
so good.
Every line that Mrs. Bickerman, Betty White, comes out with in this movie is a banger.
Absolutely. She is foul-mouthed as well. She's got such a delightful little old lady voice. Yeah. And then just got quite the potty mouth on her at times. And
this is the thing, right? So loads of the lines we're going to talk about in this movie, because we're quite line-focused often, right? Especially in a movie like this. Feels like they're written by a group of drunk people around a table thinking, wouldn't it be funny if somebody said this?
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the lines, including hers, are very much of that ilk, and we'll go into them, don't worry.
Oh, absolutely, but she's great. So they go in to ask her if she's seen anything, and during the conversation, she is talking about how her husband has passed away.
Aye, they're talking about how her husband's passed away, and basically Hank then says, well, we've not really got any records of that, but the whole way it pans out is hilarious.
Oh, my husband passed away. It's been almost 2 years now.
My department doesn't have any record of that, Mrs. Bickerman.
Well, I'm sorry. Incomplete records haunt me so. It is very funny.
It's so sarcastic.
She is, honestly. And I think it's great because that's really sometimes what you want to say.
Yeah.
Like Betty White is just saying what we all want to see in those scenarios. Like, oh no, it really haunts me that your paperwork's incomplete. Oh, nightmare.
Aye. And it's funny as hell, right? And then basically... But when they're discussing her husband, she's like, what happened to your husband? And they're trying to be nice to her and that. And she just goes, oh, I killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I hit him across the head with a skillet. She said something like that.
she did.
Right? It's hilarious. Because you're like, how's this wee wifey just sitting here with, the sheriff and then above him, the fish and game guy?
Apparently
to
so.
say, I've just murdered my husband, I smashed him across the head with a pan. You know what I mean?
But yeah, she's very much of the attitude like, what are you going to do about it? Like,
It's hilarious.
it's great.
And then, but Hank questions this, right? And Hank questions this, and then she says, I'll dig him up if you don't believe me, Sherlock.
She is very antagonistic towards them.
She can't be arsed.
Yeah.
She doesn't want somebody coming into her house. She's the only woman that lives on the lake, so she's quite clearly alone a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you can see why. She doesn't want other people around.
Totally, but she's also got herself a beautiful little setup.
She
That
does.
Lake house is gorgeous.
And she's got a pet, but we'll talk about that shortly.
Well, yeah, but she farms cows and stuff. And
She does.
Nice mooing in the background of the Betty White scenes.
Absolutely there is. It's funny. Like, she's hilarious.
She is very funny.
So funny.
After they've been to Dolores's house, the three go onto the lake and set up camp. And at this point, it's also quite clear that Kelly hasn't quite understood what is going on when they talk about camping.
Yeah. Now, I'm confused by a few things here, right? What's a Ramada Inn? Because she's like, I don't know if she says it or he says the Ramada Inn, but somebody brings up the Ramada Inn.
So I think the Ramada Inn is just a chain of hotels in the US.
All right, so like Premier Inns, Best
Yeah.
Westerns,
Exactly that.
any other hotel chains are available.
Yeah, Holiday Inn.
Aye. We get them here too, by the way.
Yeah, just not Ramada.
Aye. And then I was like, all right, regardless, if let's just pretend the Ramada Inn's like the Best Western, right?
Yes,
What the hell's that? How's that remotely like camping?
exactly.
What does she think camping is?
I have no idea.
She works in a dino office. She's supposed to be smart.
She is supposed to be smart, but I did note down that when she asked about the camping, she was like, "Oh, I heard camping, but I just didn't think tents."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Is there toilets?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's the sort of questions I would ask."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh dear." I'm not sure that I would be that comfortable going camping in an area around which somebody was just bitten in half.
Like, there is something that bit this guy. Like, the fact is, they didn't ken it's a croc here at this point, but it doesn't matter. Somebody's been bitten in half by something.
Exactly. Something has just eaten half a human being. Brendan Gleeson at this point brings up another zinger where he was like, "Oh no, I forgot to pack feminine napkins."
Oh, who says that?
Yeah, it's just
Does
horrible.
she say that?
No, it's Hank. Oh, I hate the term feminine napkin.
No, to me, it's pissed me off, actually, because it's quite disrespectful. Just say the term. You didn't need to disguise it. It's
Yeah.
okay to say it.
It is, but also I think feminine napkin is quite an American term, and I
Right.
think they
I've
use it
never
quite
heard
widely.
it before.
Oh, have you not? I have heard it before.
I got all wound up there.
You did. But I think we
Stop
also
shouting, Mikey.
I think we have to flip it as well, where Kelly does slap Hank twice during this scene.
Well, that's abuse.
It is abuse.
You could sue somebody for that.
You could sue somebody for that, because when they're on the boat journey to set up camp, they pull a moose head aboard, and that's when she slaps him the first time.
Right, why does she slap him about the moose head?
I don't know. I think she just gets a fright.
Something struck me here. Her jibes get more and more rude, and she's getting more and more wound up. And it's quite clear that it's unfair because she's really taken out this. She's taken out everything that's happened with this arsehole at the dino office on them.
Yeah, I had also noted this down, that the three of them are really mean to each other.
Yeah.
And like, I like a good dose of sarcasm as much as the next person, and I find it quite funny.
Aye.
But they are pretty mean to each other.
Really? No, I'm joking. Sorry, I just thought it'd be sarcastic.
It's very good.
When they pull the moose head out, Bill Pullman, sorry, we're going to stick to character names on this. I keep forgetting, right? Jack turns round to Hank and says, "So, Sheriff, how many deputies you got?" Right? And it's that thing where it's like, it's very Bill Pullman the way he says it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to take it for granted. My impression's no great, but that's how he talks, kind of.
It is.
But also something struck me about the moose's head. Aren't mooses a Canadian thing?
I'm not sure how far down they go. I have no idea what the range of a moose is.
Here in Scotland, it's really confusing when you're talking about moose.
It is.
Because you could be talking about one of three things, right? You could be talking about a moose, which is the big elk-like deer thingy, right? You could be talking about a moose, which is the wee critter that skitters along the ground,
Yeah.
that eats cheese.
Also known as a mouse.
A mouse. Or you could be talking about moose, which is a dessert.
Yeah, and if you're a woman, you can talk about hair mousse.
And there's mousse that goes in your hair.
Yeah.
It's all very confusing here.
Oh yeah,
Because
sorry,
we've
it's
got
not
an
just for
extra
women.
mousse to add to the confusion, which is the wee as a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, many layers.
Too many mooses.
When they pull out the moose head, it's definitely a moose.
Yeah, it's a moose, like as in the elk deer thing.
Yeah.
I keep saying elk. What's an elk? It's like a moose.
Yeah, just like a mouse. Oh,
A mouse! Oh dear, right, prime example. Right, there
Yeah.
you go.
the crew all go and set up camp, and they are having a lovely time setting up. And there seems to be a female police officer there now. So,
Yeah, she's one of the deputies.
Sharon Gere.
Deputy Sharon Gare, played by Meredith Salinger. I've recognised this lady for other things.
Yeah, she definitely had a familiar face. So Kelly and Sharon are having a chat, and Kelly says something very unusual, where she says, the men don't turn all horny like they do in Deliverance. do
Yeah, I
they?"
jotted that down here too. It was another jibe about Maine. And you're just like, if it was me, I'd be like, you're a dick.
Yeah, like, I've lived here all my life, don't be
You're
so
coming
snooty.
here for your fancy-ass dino office in New York to come and tell us and rip into us because it's just no fit. It's no nice, man.
Yeah, and I get that Kelly's not outdoorsy, but there's a difference between not being outdoorsy and never having been outside of a city.
Yeah, and then it's like, you think the Deliverance thing's bad. She then turns around and she's like, somebody says to her, you've never been to Maine? And she goes, I have personal hygiene, I'm not welcome.
That's right, she does. And it's just so rude.
She's a dick.
Yeah, she's pretty horrid. But it's okay. The tension is broken by mythology professor and crocodile enthusiast Hector's arrival. Hector is one of the strangest characters in a movie I've ever experienced.
He's an absolute weirdo, but I think it's because he's supposed to be an eccentric millionaire.
Yeah.
And he plays the part. So the man that plays Hector is Oliver Platt, and you will recognise him from lots of other things. They always say you can tell a lot about a person from where they recognise Tim Curry from, right?
Okay, yeah.
So you can say that for any actor, right? In this case, Oliver Platt, I recognised him for being one of the goons in Beethoven.
Well, there you go. If that's not his claim to fame, I don't know what is.
I know, I was like, that's that guy from Beethoven.
Goon number 4 from Beethoven.
He's
Wow.
like there's two goons in Beethoven, and they work for the guy that's the bad guy that is doing the experiments
As
on the
goons
animals,
do,
right?
yes.
And there's only two of them, and he's one of them, right? And he makes an impression because I remembered who he was.
Well, there you
I
go.
don't know if that's rotten, but I'd love to talk about it.
We will check.
Yeah, absolutely. What I mean, I know that some of the Beethoven sequels are definitely rotten.
Definitely, yeah.
Hicks in their dogs.
He's in there.
Well, we'll get to that at some point, maybe. Yeah, so I love Hector.
Yeah,
But
Hector.
I also think he's a bit of a raj, but I enjoyed his scenes, is all I'm saying.
Hector arrived in a helicopter. He made quite a dramatic entrance, and it is noted that he travels around the world swimming with crocodiles.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that I like Hector. If you met somebody that's like this in real life, you'd be like, oh, what a flashy prick.
Well, I have noted down that firstly, he's had a crocodile-coloured helicopter that can land on water.
Was it crocodile colour?
Yeah, it had like scales on the bottom. Oh, it was
Oh.
pretty rank. But I've also written down that this guy is annoying and confusing.
He is. It's the way, the things he says and the way he acts towards people is quite odd. And yeah, we'll get into him more as we go because he's around now for a wee while. There's one thing Hector says, right, though, before we move on, that so there's a few things Hector says throughout the film that are so confusing it makes zero sense. And again, this is what I mean by when I say it sounds like it was written by a bunch of drunk folk, right? As he says, the earth is round and so should you be. He says that to Hank, I think.
What does that even mean?
It's like, right, I think it's a fat joke, right?
Okay.
Because he hits him with fat jokes the whole time, even though he
does.
himself isn't like an Adonis, right? But I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I wrote it down here, right? The earth is round and so should you be.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Nah. I
He
was like, I sat there for a minute. I paused the film at the time and I was like, eh?
Yeah, and I think that's most of the time when Hector is speaking, that's my response.
Yeah, what you on about, mate?
Yeah, what? Very confusing.
Bizarre. So the guys then go to investigate the lake, including Hector, who is now along for the ride, even though he's not really part of this thing, and he's just turned up, and because he's a millionaire, they're like, oh, you can come too.
Yeah, he's got some equipment. Let's go.
He's got some equipment, he can come now. So they go to investigate, and Kelly and Hank's canoe is flipped over.
It is. Yeah, it's quite a dramatic scene in the film.
Yeah, I actually noted here too, there's actually some cool scenes or shots around this scene. Which, by the way, in this day and age would have been done by a drone.
Yes.
And I'm like, this was 1999. Drones, if they were a thing, weren't popularised in any way, right?
Yeah.
In the film Devil's Rejects, which is one of Rob Zombie's movies, I believe it was his second film, right? There was a scene at the end where they had the guys are all driving on a highway and they have shots from the sky, and so he hired a helicopter to do that. And in the Devil's Rejects credits roll at the end of the movie, and it's just this rolling shot of a road. And I was always like, that's such an interesting choice. Instead of having the black screen, we have this shot of a road. And it turns out, because Rob Zombie spent a fortune hiring this helicopter for the day, that he went, no, I'm going to use it for that and all. He inflated all these shots.
Quite right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you spent all that money, you might as well. And they're stunning shots.
You just know with technology nowadays, it would be so much easier to do, so much cheaper to do. And, I'm wondering how they get these helicopter shots without there being ripples on the water. Do you think they go up to a certain height and then zoom? Or so? I just didn't. I was trying to think about this.
It's honestly mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. But back then, it wasn't easy to do these kind of shots. And so I've got an appreciation for it. Around this time in the 90s, the 90s, 80s, they were doing shots like this. It was a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm. And the budget for this film isn't huge.
It's no.
So I think they just had to be really smart about it.
I've no idea how much it costs to hire a helicopter for the day. I'm not going to Google it either. Cause
It's alright, they've got one that's croc patterned.
That's cool, yeah, of course.
Yeah, maybe they got it cheaper because it's croc patterned.
Aye. Just before the canoe gets flipped over, they're going on they're on the lake, and Hector turns round to either Hank or Jack or somebody, and he goes, "Did she tell you that we had sex together? So vigorous."
Another unusual outburst from Hector.
It's freaking mental, man.
It's honestly, it's the ravings of a lunatic.
It is, and it's like, how's that in any way appropriate, regardless of how rich you are?
Yeah, I just don't think he's interacted with any other human being.
I know, it's the fact he throws his head back and shouts, "So vigorous!"
He really puts his whole body into it.
It's hilarious.
It's
but
crazy.
Very, very weird, like.
He also does mention at this point, he sort of flexes his croc knowledge, which is quite impressive.
Flex your croc knowledge.
Absolutely. And he said, because somebody mentions how could they survive winters in this lake? And they said that basically they're able to survive as long as their nostrils don't freeze over.
Right.
And that gave me the heebies a little bit.
How?
Just the idea that they would just have their wee nose sticking out of a frozen lake. Like the rest of their body all frozen, but their wee nostrils.
What if a wee fly, or like two wee flies flying and block both your nostrils, deed crocodile?
Well, this is it.
Probably happened.
I suspect it's probably not, maybe because if it's cold enough for the lake to freeze, it's probably too cold for flies.
No, these are hardy flies.
But yeah, sure. Okay, all right, Hector.
They're like pure mad wee Game of Thrones White Walker flies.
Yeah, the less said about Game of Thrones, the better.
Ugh, I loved Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Once. Anyway.
Did not stick.
Let's not get into that. Maybe we can have a discussion for another day. It's not a movie. So yeah, the boat gets flipped. It's pretty intense.
It really is, and Kelly gets properly yeeted out the boat. She really goes flying.
Yeet!
Yeah.
Sorry, my wee bit of J-Uso there coming out.
But yeah, I think she goes flying quite a lot in this movie.
She does, aye. And she deserves it, because she's a bitch.
This is it. If you're going to act the goat.
Don't be a dick to everybody. We're going to flip you over.
But that's it. It's universal in this film. Everybody's horrible to everybody else. There's no one
for
individual.
A while.
Yeah.
Now, it's actually quite a cool thing. Everybody's so mean to each other most, the first sort of part of this movie, right? And it's quite cool because when they start kind of warming to each other, you notice it, and it actually becomes they're actually developing, we'll get there with that and we'll talk about it when it happens, but they do start to warm to each other a little bit. So they head back onto shore after being flipped out the boat, and she's on the phone to somebody. Who's she on the phone to?
The US Wildlife Department.
Right. Why?
I don't know.
Maybe she's just phoning to grass on the crocodile, or she's phoning to say, there's something going on here, we need help.
I think that's it. I think they're trying to get some more support.
Anyway, she's on the phone and she gets very irate, and she turns around and she says,
"Thank you. It's so rewarding to imagine my tax dollar finding its way to you, you fuck shit."
The venom in it. She is angry.
She calls him a fuck shit. It's not even in any way an intelligent insult, but it's powerful and I like it.
It's the sort of thing that you genuinely would say when you're annoyed.
Yeah.
It's not okay to swear at people who are just doing their job.
Because I know, never do that. It's no fair. My doctor's surgery is the worst in Scotland, genuinely, right? Has been billed the worst in Scotland in the past, and I don't think that mantle has been passed to anyone else. But I've seen people in there shouting at the staff, and it's horrible. The last time it happened, I never intervened, and I felt bad. So I went across to Tesco, which is across the way, and I bought a box of chocolates and a card, and I handed it in, and I said, "Nobody should speak to you like that.
I know this job, I know things aren't great here, but you're doing the best you can. Here's
That's
a
it.
box of chocolates.
Yeah.
Genuinely just to see if I could just turn it, that woman's day, just a
Yeah.
little bit, because it was awful to watch.
It's not the person's fault, you know.
Nah, the
There's
person
only so
behind
much
the
they can
desk
do.
and the person you're talking to is likely not the person that you need to be shouting at.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not really appropriate to shout anyway.
No, definitely not.
Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's enough preaching, eh?
Yeah.
It is, I love it because it is the kind of stupid thing you would say when you're angry.
Definitely. And
So-
the vitriol on it is amazing.
Aye. It's similar to Cassie Webb in Madame Webb. There's often things that Cassie does which look really odd in a movie, but I said to you, and you said, we both said at the time, they're the kind of things that you do in real life.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think that's why it looks odd in a film, because people do things in a much cooler way than you would do in real life.
Oh yeah,
But
totally.
not
You didn't
Kelly.
call somebody a fuck shit on
Yeah.
the phone in
Been-
real life. You might.
Yeah.
But you'd probably be more inclined to call them a dickhead, a bastard or something like that, or an arsehole. No, a fuck shit. You know
Also,
what I mean?
maybe it's a very Scottish versus American thing.
Maybe. I'll tell you what though, I'm quite enjoying being able to use more swears in this episode.
Yeah. Betty White, potty mouth, as I say.
She really comes out with them later on. So after the boat flipping fuck shit shenanigans, they go traipsing through the woods a wee bit more, and they find a human toe.
I know, grim.
It is. I love this bit, right? Me and Pete, my brother, used to absolutely love this bit because they find the toe, right? And Hank picks it, Hector, he picks up the toe and he goes, "Is this the man who was killed?" And it's just brilliant, man. Hector's hilarious. It's not a normal human thing to do.
No, it's not a normal interaction. And it is quite funny because even the way he holds the toe is quite funny. The guy
Yeah.
kind of oozes kind of comic prowess.
Yeah, man. It's that, again, the tone in this film is light. I mean, despite we're talking about a giant crocodile and people die and get ripped apart, the tone's light.
It
and
is
it is
light.
funny, man.
It is funny. And also he goes, he seemed taller.
Aye, Hank says that.
Yeah.
He seemed taller. Aye, it's class.
As if you could tell from a toe.
It's so funny.
So funny.
I do enjoy that scene. And so I had to mention it. It's not really that important to the plot, the whole toe thing, but I really felt it was worth mentioning. So anyway, they decide to have a wee party at the camp because Hector has arrived, the arsehole millionaire. So we're going to have a camp. We're going to have a camp party.
Yeah, why would you not?
I know these tents are huge. He's got the big sort of tent, no quite like Game of Thrones, or Lord of the Rings, but you know.
It's a bit more similar to the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah, but inside it's no all magical with bunk beds and shit in it.
Yeah, no.
So Hector's having this wee party, and one of the people there's the deputy, and I can't remember. It might be Hank that's like, we shouldn't be doing this, or Bill Poole, fuck's sake, Jack. Mm-hmm. It could be Jack, and he's like, we can't be doing this. You know, it's a lot of noise and all the rest of it. Hector is fully aware that the noise could draw the crocodile out,
Yeah.
which is why he's doing it, right? And he goes to take the deputy away, the young lassie deputy, and he's like, can she stay? We were hoping to mate.
Oh, I know. It's cringeworthy.
It's so gross.
It's absolutely cringeworthy. And Hector throughout this whole film gives me the vibes of Matt Berry's character from the IT Crowd.
Oh yeah, aye, but less charismatic.
Yeah, and I can't remember his name.
He's
and
still
it's really bugging me.
charismatic, but not as charismatic as Matt Berry.
No,
Matt Berry is brilliantly charismatic in everything he's in. But at this point too, Hank calls him a mental.
Yeah, not you are mental.
Or not you are mental or you're a Raj, it's a mental.
A mental, just one, perfectly singular. Very unusual.
Totally.
Strange man.
So I mentioned earlier that there's a kind of change with the characters' interactions after a wee while, and this is where we start to see it, because Jack basically is chatting to Kelly. He knows that there's something up. He knows that she's having a problem back home. He's emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And he says, what's going on? And he's concerned for her. He's concerned for her safety. And we start to realise that Jack's quite a good guy.
Yeah, he's lovely. He's really nice. And then it's that kind of missed opportunities moment that they have where she turns around to look at him, and then just as he turns around to look at her, she's just turned back.
The
And it's
time in
kinda-
doing something like that must be hard to do in a movie.
It must be dead difficult, yeah.
You remember that missed opportunities? It was either on social media or it was in the paper.
I think it might be in the Metro.
The Metro. If anybody's not familiar, the Metro is a paper you get on public transport, at least in Scotland, maybe down south, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's national.
Is it? Right, well, anyway, there used to be this column and you could write in. It was creepy.
It was quite weird.
And it was like, to the dark-haired girl I seen on the train, I think he might have looked at me. I was on the the 120 to North Berwick or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the second time in this podcast I've referenced the North Berwick train because it's the one I use all the time.
There you go, see? Yeah, it was a bit odd.
I used to love it though because it was like, oh, what cringeworthy nonsense are we getting in the day of these paper people.
The paper people.
The paper people. Yeah, and it's cool because she's been nothing but horrible to this guy.
Yeah, she's been pretty snippy.
But he still shows her some kindness. Jack is a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Pullman's always a good guy in the movies.
There's another zinger here about Maine, I think, where they say the longer you live, the longer you have to have sex with your sister. And I think that was a Hector line.
No way. Does that sounds like a Kelly line, but that's probably something he says. Aye, they're really laying into Maine here.
Yeah.
Maine looks cool. I want to go to Maine. I was actually talking to you about this because we're talking in future about coming back over the Atlantic, and I kind of want to go back to Canada. I want to do Toronto again and do all the stuff we didn't do because we didn't have enough time.
Yeah, there was so much to see.
You know, I think we did 5 days there and 5 days in Montreal.
Yeah.
And I feel like we could have done more in each place.
Definitely.
To be quite honest.
Yeah, we only scratched the surface.
Did spend a lot of time eating, drinking in bars and watching hockey, which was just the best.
It was so good.
But yeah, do you know what I noted here, right? What the hell's this wee town going to do with Napolis? There's Napolis, they're all at the lake.
Well, this is it. But it also doesn't give the impression of a place that lots of things happen. It seems quite
Sleepy.
settled, yeah.
Placid, you might say.
Oh, very good.
Oh. So we're still at the camp and basically Hank nips out to take a piss. Now, it must be during the night. They must be went to bed by now.
Yeah,
and
he seems like he's in his jammies.
Pants and he's out having a wee pee, right? And then Hector jumps out the bushes that he's pissing in because he's laying a spring trap in the bushes. Now, I'm still not sure if he was actually laying a spring trap or he was having a shit because I was like, is that a euphemism or no? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to lay a spring trap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a great euphemism if it is.
It is, but I think he is actually laying a spring trap for the crocodile.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of discussion about him laying a lot of traps, and earlier on he had the deputies digging a hole for a trap.
Yeah.
And Hank was very unimpressed by the fact that this is the work they were doing, but they said they were getting paid for it.
Yeah, he pays them $500 to dig the bloody pit thing.
Yeah, and he gives them a check.
And then there's this whole altercation between the two, and then everybody comes out their tents. What's going on? And it's like, he pissed on me, kind of thing.
Aye, there's a kerfuffle.
Aye, and then anyway, Hank storms away and then falls into the pit trap.
He does, yeah. He does. I absolutely loved that bit. I thought it was so funny.
And it's like, again, it's the comedy here. This is part creature feature and part stupid comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The kinds of stupid comedies we watched in the noughties and late 90s that we'll be talking about a lot here.
I suspect they'll come up quite a bit.
Do you know what I'm saying? Road Trip.
Yeah.
I've not mentioned it before, but
sure.
Must have been about the noughties, I think. Early noughties. There's little bits like that make it feel like it's a stupid comedy. It's less or a horror film or a creature feature, but more a sort of silly comedy movie, you know what I mean? And that's fun, actually. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's good
Which
fun
might
as well.
be part of the appeal. Because realistically, the crocodile doesn't have much screen time.
No, it doesn't.
Nah.
But it's something I've written down here is that we have gone past the point of excluding any other theories here. Like, at this point, nobody has seen the croc.
Nah.
Nobody knows for sure that it's a croc. And it's just like, okay, everybody's very croc focused.
Do you know what the turning point for that is, though? Hector's arrival. So, which is going to tie in what I'm about to say. Hector arrives, therefore, they're like, oh, it must be a crocodile, because this guy's obsessed with crocodiles. Hence the crocodile helicopter, swimming with crocodiles in the Nile, that gets mentioned, and a bunch of other stuff this guy's done with crocodiles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think at this point, they're just like, oh, well, it must be a crocodile because Hector's here.
Yeah, well, I still think I would have wanted more concrete proof if it was me.
Absolutely, you would. At this point as well, like, Kelly mentions to Jack that Hector kind of worships crocodiles. And he's a bit like, what? And she's like, well, crocodiles have been worshipped throughout history. Kat, you, if there was one of us that's an Egyptologist, you're the one. Is there one that looks like a crocodile?
Yes.
Because I get confused with Discworld. In Terry Pratchett's Discworld books, one of them looks like a crocodile.
Pretty sure there is. Let me have a look.
Cool.
There was indeed an Egyptian god that was thought to have a crocodile head, and his name is Sobek.
Cool.
And apparently he is one of the oldest deities found within Egyptian hieroglyphs.
So, you know, when she says they've been worshipped throughout history, she's no joking. And it's like, I actually thought that stands to reason, because crocodiles are older than Jesus.
They are older than Jesus.
Right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they've been around for
If
much
you
longer.
think about it in the context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crocodiles are older than Jesus. No wonder they've been worshipped throughout history.
Yeah, they've been around
And
for
that people
millions of
still
years.
think a lot of them now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That being said, I sometimes feel like a bit of an Egypt because I'm like, is it a crocodile or an alligator?
Yeah, I still
But I
struggle
think the
to...
alligators are bigger, chunkier, less slender, less sort of pointy.
Yes, they've got sort of more broad faces.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the crocodile in Lake Placid looks like an alligator.
Yeah.
But there might be a lot of other features I'm not thinking about here.
I think it's difficult with the amount of screen time that you get of the crocodile.
Yeah.
It's difficult to unpick.
Why don't we just check out and see what the differences are?
I think there's something to do with nostrils. One's got pointy up nostrils, one's got flat nostrils or something.
Alligators and crocodiles, well, both crocodilians, have key differences in snout shape, which is what we just said, teeth visibility, habitat preference and coloration. Alligators have a broad U-shaped snout, whilst crocodiles have a narrow V-shaped snout. And the fourth lower tooth of a crocodile is visible when the mouth is closed, whereas an alligator's is hidden. So that sort of tooth poking out is very much a croc trait.
Oh, well, there you go.
The more you know. So yeah, at this point we see another deputy. And this deputy is played by Jed Reese.
Nice.
Now, Jed Reese is in quite a few things. He's in Galaxy Quest, is probably the thing that most of you might know him from.
Love Galaxy Quest.
He's also in Deadpool.
I don't remember him being in
He
that.
plays a character called the Recruiter. He's a guy in a suit that comes to speak to Deadpool in the bar.
That's right. No, I do remember this,
And
actually.
he's called the Recruiter, and I had to Google that because I've forgotten. I was like, he's in Deadpool. And like, apparently this guy's now been doing comic book conventions and everything.
Ah, cool. Good for
And
him.
you're like, he's been in so many things, but obviously Galaxy Quest must be a big draw.
It must
But people
be.
are taking photos for Deadpool to get him to sign them, and it's like, wait, what are you doing? So the guys end up heading back out to the lake to drop down these, like, what I wrote down was croc discs.
Yeah, unusual devices.
They're like little white discs that they're putting down that emit like the kind of sound a baby crocodile makes. And that was really bad, sorry.
That was actually a really good impression. I thought it was quite
I
good.
don't know, like, that's what the sound they're making.
Yeah, and Hector turns to Hank, I think, at this point and says that he should wear a pork chop around his neck for luck.
Yeah, basically saying you want something to get eaten by a crocodile.
Yeah, which is always nice to hear from.
Okay,
somebody you're
lovely,
working
eh?
with. Yeah,
Lovely, man.
That's definitely an HR matter.
And if that's not the weirdest thing, well, it's not a weird thing he says, it's just a dick thing he says, but he then turns into Hank and he says,
Maybe later you could chew the bark of my big fat log.
and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's very confusing. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, I'm part of me's now thinking, does he mean, oh, why don't you come back and eat my shit, basically?
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean?
We clearly weren't the only ones confused by that. By the looks of the other people who were in the boat, they also looked confused by that statement.
Yeah, everybody seems confused.
Yeah, Hector's just one of those eccentric folk, I think.
He is. So they're out on the boat and basically they're doing their wee disc throwing. They make it sound like they're in the Olympics.
Aye, it's not Tron.
No, they're chucking the wee discs out into the water, and the crocodile catches the anchor and pulls the boat, and in the process, our new deputy already bites the dust.
He does. His head goes clean off.
He gets his head chomped off, and if they didn't know it was a crocodile before, they certainly do now. So Galaxy Quest man is down.
Yeah, poor Deputy Burke. Another deputy bites the dust.
So they head back to camp. Around this time, somewhere, Hank ends up getting trapped again.
Yeah, he's constantly falling into Hector's trap.
This time it's like a trap, the thing that catches you by the leg and whooks you into the trees.
I've got a funny feeling that is the spring-loaded one.
Is that a spring trap? I always thought that was like the clampy bite bear trap. I'm getting confused. Well, that's called a bear
maybe.
trap, clearly. So.
Clearly we're not outdoorsmen.
No, not really. Anyway, he's doing a spring trap. Is that to catch bait for the crocodile? Because you're not going to catch a crocodile in a tree, are you?
Well, I guess they don't know the size of the crocodile.
That's
when they
true,
set in
but
those
given the
traps.
size of the tooth, they should know.
Well, that's true, but she's clearly not coughing up a lot of information. Kelly is not mentioning a lot of
She
information
doesn't
that
really have a
has.
conversation with Hector at any point, but we will say this, it's one of these things when you start picking a film apart like this. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically they're having an argument by the side of the lake and a freaking bear comes running out and pure about eats them.
It does. Yeah, and it's quite an impressive bear, and it kind of comes out like almost like a Pokemon where it's like, yeah, flashes its way out.
Remember that reel with the beef?
Oh, don't. It's one of my favourites. It has me in stitches every time.
Yeah, it's impressive, and I was like, oh, look at the bear. I love bears, man.
I know, they're brilliant.
They're awesome. And it's all like, right?
Okay, good bear impression.
Thanks. It's gone Raj, and then like they're all like, "Oh no, a bear!" And then the crocodile jumps out the lake and munches it.
Yep, it takes the bear back into the lake.
Yeah, and this is a big bear.
It is a big bear, but that is a big crocodile.
And they're all very shocked by the bear, and then they all go back to camp and they're discussing the bear and they're talking about what could be going on. And Kelly turns around at one point and she's like, "Oh, I think it's an Asian crocodile because of the shapes of the scales." And you're like, "Right, hen, you saw this thing for a flash of a second.
Yeah.
How do you know
She
the
has got
shapes of the scales?" Especially when you're in a scenario like that, when there's a frickin' bear about to eat her, and then the crocodile jumps out and eats the bear. How does she have this the foresight to look up and say, "Oh, look, the scales are a slightly different shape. It must be an Asian crocodile."
Yeah, she's got some fast eyesight. And
Totally.
for somebody who hasn't done a lot of field work, clearly,
Yeah.
it's maybe quite a leap for her to do it that quickly.
So as we've discussed now, the crocodile is an Asian crocodile. So this leads to another discussion about the crocodile crossing the ocean. Hank and Hector have a wee bit of a conversation about crocodiles crossing the ocean.
I never heard of a crocodile crossing an ocean. Well, they conceal information like that in books.
It's like...
It's such a zinger.
It is, and it's just Hector, like a hot Hector all over. And basically, at this point, Hank's finally had enough and socks him across the face.
I don't blame him. There's only so much you can do.
Well, basically, actually, what happens is, right, Hank's going at Hector, and Hector's like, "I know karate."
Yeah.
And then, so Hank's like, "Fine then," and lamps him across the puss, right? And then Jack jumps in and he's like, he said he knew karate. And then he's like, well, and then it's this whole thing where Hector's like, "You're supposed to say go. You're supposed to say go." He keeps saying it. Like, aren't you
Yeah.
supposed to say go?
Yeah, fights don't usually start with go.
And then basically, because he keeps saying that, Hank then turns around and goes, "As in, go fuck yourself."
So funny.
It's, again, silly comedy stuff. I love it.
Very good.
After these events, we have another scene with Jack and Kelly. I keep thinking Jack and Kelly Osborne every time.
Oh, really?
Aye, because Jack and Kelly. There's another wee moment here between Jack and Kelly where she is stitching him up. After he must have got scraped in the kerfuffle. And they're getting to know each other a wee bit more. And it's nice. And again, there's a moment between the two of them. And then she turns around and she's like, "We should go to bed." She doesn't say it like that, though.
Oh, good. I'm glad she doesn't say it like that.
She doesn't. She says we should go to bed.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Separately."
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make things perfectly clear. And I like that. No ambiguity.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's showing that they're kind of getting to know each other a wee bit and starting to like each other even, maybe.
Yeah, just a smidge.
So they go traipsing through the woods again, and Kelly is all like, "Oh, I've got a thing for ticks." This is where she says this.
Yeah, she says she's got a thing about mosquitoes and ticks. So
Yeah.
double whammy.
And it's about this point, a head, I don't know how, but Kelly gets hit by a human head.
Yeah, they find Deputy Burke's head,
Yeah.
which means that the crocodile spat it out.
He's like, "Oh, do I like heads?" I
Yeah.
thought it was getting a leg or something.
I know, take what you can get.
It's like,
but-
didn't go to KFC and you're like, "Oh, Ken, my favourite is the head." Ken, it's not quite, at least not here. I mean,
And Kelly reacts in a totally calm fashion to finding Deputy Burke's head. And she says,
I keep getting hit with heads.
Try to calm down, all right?
You calm down.
Calm down, okay? Just keep breathing.
I am being very calm. I am composed. This is the second time I've been hit with a severed head and it upsets me.
and I don't blame her for being upset. I would also be upset.
It's class. This is the second time I've been hit with a severed head, and it upsets me. But
I think, to make your feelings perfectly clear, it would be very upsetting.
aye, absolutely would be. Aye.
And also, insult to injury, a snake comes out of Deputy Burke's head.
Yeah, that's right. Aye, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it got a bit Death Eatery.
Oh God, it is, eh? The wee dark mark's got the snake and the skull in that. That's for the Harry Potter fans amongst you. After this kerfuffle, they kind of look across the lake and they see one of them, I can't remember who, is like, "You're not going to believe this." And they look over and there's wee Dolores leading a cow towards the little kind of pier thing she's got at the end of her garden. And she's walking along, she's like, "Come on." And then the pans over and you see the crocodile's big ass head sticking out the water. And you know what? I said this to you at the time. This is one of these iconic scenes I've never forgotten. I know it so well because I'll never forget seeing it for the first time, because this is where you see the crocodile just there. It's not doing anything. It's not jumping at anyone. It's not jumping at the water to eat a bear. It's just in the water. It's just sitting there waiting for its lunch.
Yeah, even I've not seen this film a lot, and I have I know that scene.
Yeah.
And there's a few things about it, like the fact that she blindfolds the cow because she doesn't want it to be
Does she
frightened.
blindfold it?
Yeah. And she's humming Incy Wincy Spider as she's going. So she clearly like cares for both the cow and the crocodile, like just by doing these little things.
Yeah.
Does it? And also she's wearing a very nice dressing gown
Oh,
that I really like.
that's cool. I didn't notice.
Yeah, it's got
It's
a
funny, I'm
jazzy
like, I
pattern.
ken every detail about this scene. No idea the cow was wearing a blindfold, no idea she was wearing a dressing gown.
Well, there you go. Just the things that a fresh eye has seen. I did think, though, this must cost her a fortune in cows.
Yeah, it really must. I mean, you know, it depends how often she's feeding. I don't know how often a crocodile needs to feed. Shall we find out?
Yeah, because I think a cow costs quite a lot of money.
Aye, surely. All right, let's find out how much a cow costs, right? How much is it to buy a cow? Apparently, according to this website, a whole cow costs about $3,000.
Wow.
Half
okay.
a cow, $1,500, which makes sense because that's half of $3,000.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Which half?
I know, that's it, the arse.
Oh, I don't want that bit.
So apparently, because crocodiles are ectothermic, they don't have to eat that often.
Okay, so maybe it's not that expensive.
It does make you wonder why this crocodile's attacking everyone, though.
Yeah.
Come on, they normally say in movies like this, mating season or something.
Yeah, they do normally say that.
Something like that, eh?
It is normally that sort of garbage.
Well, do you know what? This had me thinking. A lot of people like a pet that lives in the wild, don't they?
I guess.
Aye, like think about it. Right? I know that your dad has Grayson, who is a robin,
That's true.
who is in the back garden, and he loves Grayson, and Grayson flies down and eats out of your dad's hand
That's true, yeah.
because he's got to know this robin so well. My friends Bob and Ange as well, they had a seagull that used to come, and Ange would feed it, and they called it Beaky, and it came every day.
Yeah, it's weird when
Which
you
kind of freaked me out because I was like, that thing was bigger than their cats.
Yeah,
They
it's a
didn't
big-
seem concerned though, so.
Nah.
But it was cool. It was awesome. So like, aye, like it's definitely a thing, and you know that's just local examples across the world. It probably happens everywhere.
Yeah, hopefully not too often a crocodile.
Nah, but maybe a crocodile in your in this lake in your back garden. But hey, oh, eh?
Well, stranger things have happened. So Hank, Hector and Kelly and Jack, the whole crew, go across to speak to Dolores after the revelation that she has been feeding the croc. And it transpires that the crocodile had followed her husband Bernie home, and actually it was the crocodile that had killed Bernie.
Yeah, it's kind of comes forward like thing at this point, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it turns out that the crocodile had been going after their horse, and Bernie tried to intervene to save the horse, and Bernie had ended up being eaten in the process.
Poor Bernie.
But that's clearly not put Dolores off of her love for the crocodile.
No, she still loves the crocodile, like,
Yeah.
which is a bit weird actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of just thrown aside. Like she's like, oh, it's fine. I'm sorry, but if that was you, I would be phoning the friggin' RSPCA and being like, can you get this crocodile out the back garden? And if it was happening here, it would be quite a miracle. But
well, yeah. But also, at that point, it's a man-eater, so, you know.
that was me doing that Nelly Furtado song.
It's a good song. And it's clear that she's also been looking after this crocodile for years. It's not
Yeah.
been a short-term thing. It's been a very long-term thing because her husband died 2 years ago, and it suggested that they've had contact with it for a couple of years before that. So she is placed under house arrest for initially lying to the police by Hank, and she has just the best response.
I think the first time me and Pete seen this, that might have been the Wee Guy Club.
Oh, no way!
I've just realised I have not mentioned the Wee Guy Club before. But the Wee Guy Club was a guy, there's a wee guy that used to come round with DVDs, right? He gave you a wee catalogue and you'd tick them, and then he'd come round every Sunday night and he'd be like, here's the DVDs, which one would you like to borrow for the week? And you'd borrow it for the week, and then the next day in the week he'd come back, collect the DVD and give you a new one.
Quite a handy service.
It is, apart from the fact he never brought the movies you ticked on the bloody catalogue.
Ah, okay.
He gave
not
us the
reliable.
catalogue routinely. I remember, never forget, I was really young, and I remember turning to my mum and saying, when this came out when I was in first year, so
Oh, right.
I remember turning to my mum and saying, Mum, why are we filling out this wee catalogue? He never brings the movies we asked for. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, Wee Guy Club, and will come up occasionally because there's quite a few movies that I loved throughout my childhood, well, high school years, where they were Wee Guy Club films, is what we used to call them.
Wow.
So I remember distinctly me and my brother watching it a lot for that week, and then we were hammering the rewind button at this because we just couldn't believe this wee old lady had said something like that. I mean, even though she's got other lines up to this point, turning around and saying to the policeman,
If I had a dick this big, I'd tell you to suck it.
gold coming from Betty White as well.
The delivery is just on point as well.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, if there's somebody else at this line, it would fall flat maybe.
Definitely.
But no for Betty White.
We then go on to see Hector deciding to take the deputy that he quite fancies, Sharon, on a trip in his helicopter. And he unexpectedly lands in the crocodile's territory.
He doesn't. There's nothing unexpectedly about it. He knows. He's like, this is where this crocodile's living. Come on, let's land here. And Sharon's like, are you mental? We're not doing that.
I just thought I was coming for a wee trip in your helicopter. I didn't think I was going to put myself in mortal danger.
Totally. And then he's getting in the water and all the rest of it. And it's like she's so desperate. She turns around and she says, what was it? She says something along the lines of, if you want to see a habitat up close, you can watch Nova. And I'm like, over my head, what is Nova? So I googled it, and it was a science TV show documentary series that ran from, I think, 1974 for quite a while. Okay. So it was the kind of thing that people probably knew very well.
Yeah. So it'd be our equivalent of like being like, oh, watch David Attenborough.
Aye. I mean, I think Attenborough's global. I mean, people love Attenborough across the world, but there's various ones you could probably know, like Springwatch or something. I don't know. But
nah, I don't think they cover crocodile habitats. But
no, well, known Springwatch, but they might if there was an American version.
Yeah, true.
Well, there wouldn't, because I think there's crocodiles supposed to be in Maine, famously.
Well, I think that's the whole problem.
Exactly. And then she also actually says here, she tries to desperately get him to come back in the helicopter, and she actually goes, come back in the helicopter. I'll have sex with you.
Oh, it makes me feel unwell.
It's the fact that she puts it that way. She doesn't even say a euphemism, or she doesn't kind of like, I'll have sex with you.
Oh, yeah, especially such a little pig.
Yes, Hector, aye.
So Hector decides he's going to go scuba diving, and he wants to try and get a good look at the creature. And he gets what he wishes for. He
doesn't half. It's hilarious because he's actually literally trying to talk this thing down, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, the crocodile effects here are class, I think.
They really are.
It's probably just a big bloody rubber crocodile. But it looks great.
It does. It really does.
Do you know what I mean?
Especially, as I say, this film is pretty old now and it still looks pretty good.
That's it. And it's this thing where Hector is arrogant. He thinks he knows everything about crocodiles and therefore he's in complete control, and takes this poor woman it puts her in danger.
Yeah, I feel
and it was
really
at this point I was like, what an asshole.
Yeah, he's really horrible. Like, I felt really sorry for her.
Like, Hector has me laughing throughout, and there's moments in the film where he's actually quite likeable. But this wasn't one of them.
This is
and
not
I was like, didn't he put that poor woman's life in danger, you prick? You know what I mean?
He manages to escape by deploying an inflatable raft.
It's so cool, actually. I was like, clever. I liked that.
Yeah, it comes from the tiniest pouch, though. It's a bit James Bond, where it's like this teeny tiny pouch makes this huge inflatable raft, but it works. And the two of them are able to escape.
And also at this point, back at Dolores's house, the police are leaving, and Hank says something to anger Dolores. I can't remember what it is because I didn't note it down, but he says something that upsets her whilst he's leaving. And obviously she's still upset about being put on house arrest and that she's getting accused of all sorts. So even though she's not exactly innocent here, the police are leaving, and Dolores then turns round and kind of feigns, while she's leaving, she feigns politeness, and she sort of says thank you, but it's then kind of like followed by a line that suggests she's actually really pissed.
Thank you, Officer Fuckmeat.
Yeah, she is annoyed. She's super annoyed.
I love this one too, and as you can imagine, this was another one where me and people are firing the tape back like there's no tomorrow. Right? And it's just gold, man. And again, it's no intelligent, right? No. This film is horribly written, right?
Yeah.
In terms of writing, and I wrote it down around this point somewhere on my page, it is poorly written. It's not a well-written film in any way.
The characters are quite inconsistent.
Yeah. The characters can either be, oh, you're like, this guy's all right, and the next minute they're doing something horribly, or the lines are just written terribly and they come across, you know. But again, there's that thing that we've said before, and we said it earlier on this one as well, is that this is like the kind of insult you'd maybe say if you were just really angry.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, the first thing that springs to your mind. But I didn't think in a month of Sundays this wee lady would be calling somebody Officer Fuckmeat.
I don't think
it's
so either.
It's so random. It doesn't even mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
But it did make me laugh.
It did. And Betty White's delivery was just brilliant. So back at camp, and Jack and Hank are now hatching a plan to allow Florida Fish and Game kill the crocodile when they arrive. But Hector is not happy about this plan at all. And he suggests that they should try and lure it out of the water and tranquilise it rather than kill it so that they're able to study it.
Yeah, none of them are happy about this. Jack's not happy about it, but eventually accepts the proposal as well. The thing that gets me about this is, like, there's this whole thing where Hector's like, they're like, oh, Hector, it could be really dangerous. And he says something about being judged.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy.
It is, and it's like talks about the crocodiles are the only ones that can pass the judgment.
Yeah, and it's absolute wank.
It is, but they absolutely shut him down at that point where they just say, cut the shit.
Aye, like, enough.
It's great.
Do you know what I mean? Because we're all thinking it at this point, eh?
Hector also has a brilliant line here where he's just totally not up for fish and game authority.
I'm a civilian. I'm not a trout. You have no authority over me whatsoever. It's not wrong, man.
Yeah, he's just...
But it's the fact, I've noticed, it's the fact he picks trout, and I don't know why. Like, I know people here who have referred to people as a trout, and it's normally when you're annoyed at someone. Normally, you know, you're trout.
Yeah.
And I've said it quite a lot in the past when someone has upset me. You're in danger of being called a trout.
You've been warned.
So it's the fact he picks a trout of all the things he could pick. It's just quite funny to me. Yeah, and so whilst he's trying to convince them, he basically comes up with this absolutely raj line, which is Hector all over again. And he says, I know, I'm a fat, rich, nutfuck wacko who's about as grounded as a street pigeon.
So trouts are getting it, pigeons are getting it. Hector is just out for it.
A fat, rich, nutfuck wacko, I think is what he says.
Yeah.
It's like,
As grounded as a street pigeon.
Yeah, I think this says a lot when this is probably about the most intelligent thing they wrote making this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know what I mean?
But are street pigeons grounded?
Well, no, really, because they nest.
Yeah, and they
I
fly.
think it's that whole thing about I don't know. They're no. I think what he's trying to say is as common as a street pigeon.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I think that would make.
You know, when
more
I'm
sense.
thinking of pigeons, I'm thinking of the mounds of shit at Waverley Station in Edinburgh.
Aye, the ones that have all got the mangled feet.
I was
'cause they've
waiting
been-
for a train, me and Rab went to get on a train to Glasgow a few weeks ago, and we were standing waiting on the platform, and we looked across the way, and there where the pigeons are roosting, there was the biggest pile of pigeon shit you've ever seen.
Oh, it's gross.
It's like
It's so tall.
It's like half a metre high.
Mm-hmm.
It's minging, man.
It's really gross.
Nobody goes down there and cleans because there's trains just coming in and out all day.
Yeah, probably.
So this has no relevance to the scene whatsoever, sorry.
No. But keep your eyes peeled if you're ever in Waverley.
Aye, watch out for that pigeon shit.
So, as we said, Hector has suggested that they can lure the crocodile out and tranquilise it instead of killing it. And Jack is on board with this plan, but suggests that they use one of Dolores's cows as bait.
Yes, Dolores is less than pleased when they get there.
Yeah.
But there's something else I'd like to mention here is that Kelly, right, there's this part here where all of a sudden when Hector's like, I'm going to do this, Kelly's like, oh no, but Hector. It's a complete U-turn for her character. All of a sudden she's totally worried about Hector getting killed or hurting himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, all you've done is moan about everything this man has said. Mm-hmm. Although, that being said, there is times where she kind of sticks up for him. Oh, he is actually a brilliant man because he's a professor.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but this is where she's all of a sudden, she cares like crazy about Hector. Oh, you might get hurt.
Yeah. You've not cared before now.
It's another example of just a character on a total U-turn, which is something you mentioned earlier. On the flip side of that too, right, here we're seeing that Hank and Hector have started to get on. So after ages of getting at each other, they've started to get on. It's nice to see it, right? Because these characters are starting to get on. But it feels like it comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they're all right with each other. They're sitting there looking at videos of crocodiles on his wee laptop.
Oh, yeah.
And they're sitting kind of having a chummy chat. And you're like, you were punching him a minute ago.
Yeah.
And all you've done is going about how much of a dick he is. All he's done is be horrible to you, Hank. And now you're all right with each other.
Maybe they have bonded over that wee fight. Like, you know, it's like a pressure cooker. They've released the pressure and now they can watch crocodile vids together.
Valid.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say about that. So yeah, they go to get the cow for Mrs. Bickerman. And it's really funny because they're like basically saying, we're going to take this cow and there's nothing you can really do about it. But thanks, Ken. And she's like, they're taking the cow and the cow's getting dragged away in the helicopter and it's literally hanging from the helicopter. And she just turned around and she's like, you're all cocksuckers.
Yeah. It's another brilliant line from Dolores. Like, she's always coming out with these great lines. Total potty mouth. Clearly also very attached to her cows.
Absolutely.
Despite feeding them to crocodile.
There's a bit here too that really irked me because it was, again, the worst writing and acting I've ever seen. And that's including for Bill Pullman, right? is that they're in, I don't know, they're either in a car or something. They're near each other anyway, and Kelly turns around to Jack and she says, we're doing the right thing. Because she's trying to say to Jack, I know you didn't want to do this, but we're doing the right thing by drugging the crocodile because the crocodile's going to live and everything. And he's like, you might feel different if you get eaten. And she's like, yeah, thanks. And it's just the worst writing ever.
Yeah,
because it's that whole, you might feel different if you get eaten. It's just so cheap and nasty. Do you know what I mean?
It is.
But I still don't care.
Yeah. We're getting to the crescendo now.
Yeah, I'm just talking about these points, that there's things that are probably reasons people don't like the film. I'm not sitting here saying these are reasons I don't like it. I'm just pointing out these are possible reasons. And that goes for this podcast as a whole, by the way. We might just be pointing things out because it's things that people may have noticed.
Yeah.
The reality is, it will not really have a bearing on what our thoughts are, which we'll tell you later. So
yeah. So they attach the cow to a helicopter
yeah,
to try and
Daisy.
use it as bait. Yeah, I felt sorry for Daisy. But the scene you see of her taking off being attached to the helicopter is hilarious.
Yeah.
Just seeing this flying cow. And they have this amazing cut in where it flashes to Dolores inside on house arrest with 2 police officers. And then she says, is it a crime to wish the chewing of law enforcement? just one scene.
Yeah.
Just a quick chopped it. And I really liked that. I thought it was funny.
She's funny, man.
But they're kind of dunking the cow in and out of the water as if she's a tea bag.
The cow's like kicking its legs and stuff. They're there for a while.
Absolutely. They are
They
up
must
in
have
the
a lot
air.
of petrol in that there
That's
chopper.
what I thought as well. It's like they're in the air for a while doing
That's
a lot
it.
of manoeuvres trying to get this crocodile to appear, which it soon does.
And it all goes tits up.
It does.
It all goes wrong. And do you know what annoys me about this? I don't know what went wrong.
No.
All
there's
of a
no
sudden, Hector seems to lose control of the chopper.
Yeah, maybe
There's
it runs out
no-
of fuel.
I know, eh? There's no rhyme or reason to it. He just starts sort of going up. He's like, he completely loses control when he's clearly been in the air for ages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I didn't fly a helicopter, right? It might no surprise you, right? So I don't know how they work. So maybe someone can just hit it off kilter.
Yeah,
But it
maybe.
doesn't feel like this is the case. It just feels like the chopper completely loses control.
Yeah, and it does come out of nowhere. There's no warning lights or beeping or nothing.
It's quite funny because Hector's kind of like I said, fumbling around, and Hank's like, no, Hector! And it's like, he really cares for him now.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And it's like, I've just bitched about it, and I'm just saying, people will have, again, I'm just saying, we're noticing things that people will have noticed, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things they'll have noticed, is that this friendship seems to come out of nowhere now. But it is, at the same time, I'm like, no.
Yeah, I guess we've all engaged with people that we don't like.
Yeah.
And people that annoy us when you first meet them.
Yep.
And then eventually develop a fondness for them. So Hector's poor piloting of the helicopter leads to it crashing into the lake. And the crocodile comes onto land and begins to chase down Jack and Kelly and the whole group, and they jump into their trucks. Somehow, Kelly falls out of the truck. She is incapable of staying in any form of transport. And
Flipped out boats, chucked out trucks.
she just needs a bus pass. That's the only mode of transport she can trust, apparently.
Maybe.
Even that may be a challenge.
I can't imagine Kelly on a bus.
No. Public transport doesn't seem her thing.
Nope.
She then also gets knocked into the lake by the crocodile's tail. It spins and hits her, and she is pushed into the water. She manages to swim to the crashed helicopter, and then she also falls off the helicopter, which, as I say, she is not great with transport.
No, she really isn't.
She really is not.
Yeah.
And she ends up under the water, trying to swim away from the crocodile.
Hector basically shouts, get under the water, because he's referenced earlier on that they can't see very well underwater.
Yes. So she tries to swim away, and the crocodile is catching up to her because it's a crocodile, and prepares to make its move, but she hides behind a tree, I think it was.
I don't
at some-
understand how this tree is just square in the middle of the sort of lake.
Yeah, I don't know.
I understand there's a lot of places around the world, I've certainly seen it in a lot of documentaries. There are instances of trees coming straight out of the water, but I couldn't see there being a tree sticking out of the water anywhere.
No. It's a weird one, and it kind of falls into the old trope of like the crocodile was biting the tree while she was stuck between the jaws, and then her foot got stuck, and it just kind of felt a bit,
Yawn.
a little bit.
For probably supposed to be the film's most exciting scene, it was not probably the film's most entertaining scene. Although, a lot goes on. The stuff with the chopper and that is cool, I guess.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense why the hell he loses bloody control of it in the first place.
So Kelly gets her foot unstuck from being underwater and has managed to hold her breath the whole time, and manages to climb up onto the helicopter. And the crocodile leaps into the helicopter to try and get her, and she manages to climb through to the other side, and it becomes stuck in the helicopter.
Yeah, creating some sort of chopper-croc hybrid. A crocbuster
Well,
isn't great, so I was thinking a chop-o-dile.
oh, I like Chop-o-dile.
It's better, eh?
Jack grabs a gun and shoots it, but we're like, oh, is it a real gun? Oh, no, it turns out to be a tranquilizer gun.
Yeah, because we think he's kind of going on about how he wants to kill it, just in case we haven't said that. He wants to kill. He kind of thinks we should kill it. That's why she earlier on, she's like, you're doing the right thing, kind of thing. But yeah, he shoots it with a tranq dart, which is all very nice.
And Hector, during the helicopter crash, has ended up in the water. And you're like, whew, you know, the crocodile's been detained.
Yeah.
But no, there is a second crocodile.
Dun, dun, dun.
There is.
Big moment. There's a second crocodile. And then what happens? Hank blows his head off. I actually audibly gasped because it was so awesome when he blows his head off.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah! It's like-
Absolutely. I think it's like the notes say it was a grenade launcher, and I just want to know how either Fish and Game or the police have one of those in what seems to be quite a sleepy area.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure how that's come to be. But anyway, yeah, it's quite spectacular being able to see the crocodile's head gone.
It is, it's class. And then at this point, it's great because Hector's just like, there's two. He says it about 20 times.
After Hank has blown up the crocodile, he gives just another sort of sarcastic, quippy line of,
Back to one. That's what he says.
just to the point. I quite liked it.
It's class. But I'll tell you what, it has no take on the story. It doesn't have a purpose.
Well, I think I might disagree with you there, actually.
Oh, I just remembered.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
So soon after they've, got rid of crocodile number 2 and Chop-o-dile.
Chop-o-dile
is still okay. Florida Fish and Game officers arrive where they put the crocodile onto a truck and take it to Portland in Maine to try and figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, and it's like there's a whole clear-up operation here, and they're just like, they're kind of pussyfooting around speaking to each other, Kelly and Jack, and they're like, oh, he's like, yeah, and she's like, I'm just going to hang around and say bye to the lake because I've kind of got fond of it now. And then he's like, oh, yeah, okay. And he's trying to stall because he wants to ask her out, basically.
Yeah.
And then, like, eventually she gets in the truck.
Yeah.
They're, like, kind of chatting. And then she says something cheeky or whatever. And then he turns around to Bill Pullman just in that really Bill Pullman way. He's like, I actually miss the crocodile.
Yeah. It kind of rounds off a perfect cheese fest.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a nice round off, isn't it?
Yeah. So during the credits, there are 2 sort of scenes that we see.
Mm-hmm.
The first of which is apparently a week later, and it shows Dolores feeding breadcrumbs to many baby crocodiles.
Yeah, and next to the song's use in 50 First Dates, and it's been used a lot before. Bob Marley's in This Love's being used at this point, and it's just really joyful. It's one of the most joyful songs I think I know. I know a lot of reggae. It's probably one of my favourite genres of music, right? And in This Love, it was class to hear it, and it's cool at this scene because it's kind of joyful that they're nibbling on her toes and stuff, eh?
Yeah, it is, and it shouldn't make you as happy as it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm okay with it.
It's cute, I like it, and again, I don't know if it's just because of the song. I was like, yeah, little kitty crocodile.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is why the second one serves a purpose, okay?
That's why there had to be a second one to show they were a mating pair.
I get you. I totally overlooked that.
And then the last scene that we see in the film is the surviving adult crocodile tied to the back of a flatbed trailer speeding down a road.
Aye, and it's like a huge truck.
It is
There's
a
crocodile just on the back of
big
it speeding
truck.
down like a highway. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's quite a nice way to round off the film.
Yeah, that only one crocodile died in the making of this movie. Many deputies.
Yeah.
Probably a beaver and a tortoise, I don't know.
Couple of cows.
Aye. Anyway, that was it.
Yeah.
And that
and
was
that's-
Lake Placid.
That was Lake Placid. So, Mikey, now that we've gone through our summary of the film,
Yeah.
what did you think of it?
Well, it's a funny one, this one, right? I said this earlier on. I watched this a lot when I was younger, when I was a kid, because this was 2000 here, so 25 years ago, so I was a little bit younger then. So, I loved watching this one.
And maybe it was partly because it was the naughty language in it too, and I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, you get a film with swears.
Exactly. And maybe that was part of it, and maybe I just look at it with sort of nostalgia in mind, you know? Similar to like when we spoke about Coyote Ugly as well. But I think looking at it this time and trying to look at it more critically, right? It's a fun film, but like one thing I noticed in reality this time is that the film actually, for a creature feature, doesn't have that much creature.
Yeah.
But that's often the case.
But I would argue that some other films have done this a bit more skillfully.
Yeah.
Where there was no mystery here as to what was happening.
Nah.
There was no.
No, but there was two. Like, okay, like
Well,
threw that in at the end. Like,
I didn't not like that actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite good.
well, I know, because you get Oliver Platt. The Hector. Like, it's two. There's two. It just
Yeah.
cracks me up. Like,
He really made it clear that there was two of them.
absolutely.
But I just think that there was no suspense really
Yeah.
that much.
Nah, no, really. There's nothing suspenseful here. There's nothing scary here. It's not really
Nah.
supposed to be scary, I think. I mean, unless it is. But it's just fun.
It is good fun.
I think I'd actually go down the route to say that this isn't trying to be scary. I think this is a sort of campy, self-aware film, because there's so much in the film that makes you think that they know what they're doing here. They know what this is. They're not really shying away from it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I think that maybe the writers kind of lost focus just ever so slightly on trying to get as many quick quips and sarcastic comments and funny lines in there, that maybe the story did suffer just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that you said to me, but whilst we were recording the other day, just in case you've forgotten, you said to me that you felt this film was very dialogue driven.
It is, and I stand by that comment.
It is. It's hugely dialogue driven.
Yeah.
And you're like, so for a creature feature, it's actually more about the dialogue, but the dialogue, unfortunately, isn't witty, clever, or particularly smart, or has anything to say in any way.
Yeah, it's all about people having digs at each other, and sometimes they're quite mean.
They are, aye. But like, that being said, we had a lot of fun with those digs.
We did.
That's most of this thing we talked about what people were saying.
Yeah.
Because it was so dialogue driven.
Absolutely.
Like, and on that note, another reason I think it stands out is because of Betty White. And every line she has, you're all cocksuckers, and if I had a dick, this is where I tell you to suck it. Like, all those.
Yeah, she's a total scene stealer.
Yeah, she is. And it's class. And what else can you expect from the great Betty White?
Well, this is it. And I think probably for a lot of people, that sort of role for her came out of left field.
Aye.
Like, when you hear her in it, you're like, oh, she's playing like a lovely old lady. And she is. And then transpires that she's been feeding this huge crocodile and that ate her husband.
Aye. Or that earlier on, she come out with that she hit him across the head with a skillet. Like, that's also okay.
I know.
Or that's not something you'd hear from an old lady as well, is what I mean.
Well, probably more often than you think. But
Well, maybe.
did she actually hit him with a skillet and then feed him to the crocodile? Or did he actually get eaten by the crocodile?
Yeah, we didn't know. There's a go. Maybe you've just given the film more depth than the film makers actually did.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite easily achieved.
I mentioned, Kat, to you a minute ago that I think it's quite self-aware, right? And so the film essentially knows what it wants to be. Mm-hmm. What do you think? How do you think? Well, why do I think that? Is what I'm trying to say.
I think you could argue that it's self-aware because it doesn't try. It knows what it is. It's not trying to be this huge drama where somebody has a huge revelation in the middle. The characters don't have huge levels of emotional depth or connection to each other. They do build that a little bit over
but
time.
not hugely. Aye.
Not hugely, and also it doesn't. It's quite formulaic where it's classic creature feature. I would argue that they even skip a few steps out of the formula where, there's a problem identified, they investigate the problem comes and tries to eat them. That's usually the formula for a creature feature. But they don't even do the kind of investigation part a lot in this film because they're like, oh yeah, it's crocodile. Which, you know what, in some cases,
but they decide,
that might happen.
True, it's funny because they decide it's a crocodile when Hector arrives.
Yeah.
Like, he's the authority here. Hector's here, therefore it's a crocodile.
Also,
and it's quite funny.
Hector is one of the strangest characters I've ever seen in a film.
Aye, we really went into that there.
Ever.
Just to say though, you're right, aye. The reason I guess it is self-aware is because they knew what they were making when they made this, and there's no ifs or buts about that. They went, we're going to make a film about a giant crocodile, right? And let's just slap it out. We'll get these people in to do it, and they're not thinking about any larger meaning here or trying to make you feel anything by watching it. I feel by making this, they just wanted to entertain you.
Absolutely
and the
agree.
greats in this movie, like Brendan Gleeson and Betty White and Bill Pullman, probably knew what they were getting into.
Totally. And I just think...
I would say Bridget Fonda there, but I don't know if she falls into that category of great actors.
She was good in this.
She's good in that, and the only film I ever remember her being in other than this was with Jet Li in Kiss of the Dragon, which is a banging movie. Well, it was a banging movie when I was at high school, so it might be shite.
I'll have to look into that.
I will have to look into it, but that's the only film I really know her from. But the other guys, and we know from various other things. In fact, Oliver Platt as well has popped up throughout loads of different things.
Yeah, there's definitely been a smattering.
So I feel like maybe this was just like, oh, we'll get these guys together and just have a bit of fun. And that's all right, because that's how it reflects when you watch it.
This is it. And I think that's exactly it. It's just good fun. It's not terribly long. It's not terribly complex. But there are some absolutely iconic scenes and iconic lines that have come out of it that are totally in the zeitgeist now. And I think the fact that they knew they were making something that wasn't going to be a revelation in any way is also shown by the fact that they made like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, they did. They made loads of these.
Yeah, they did make loads
Might
of
cover
Lake
them,
Placid.
but I don't know. Like, I don't want to go too far down the sequel sort of bin.
Yeah,
there is sequels we will do that are probably more well known and loved or hated.
And I think they didn't ever get a theatrical release. I'm not 100% sure though.
Kat, just to circle back there, you used the term zeitgeist. Now, I just want to be transparent and be like I can't really remember what that means. What does zeitgeist mean?
So I think that zeitgeist means that it is in the cultural consciousness.
Right.
That it is out there, it's kind of the moment, it's in everybody's viewpoint. So I think this movie is kind of iconic of that time.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
God, aye.
Like creature features and those sort of films, especially I think particularly after a launchpad of Jurassic Park, really kind of became quite prominent, and especially those kind of scary, like, you'd rent it from your video shop on a Friday night with your pals sort of thing. Like we did that quite a lot. But there's things like Deep Blue Sea as well. There's lots of different creature-esque movies.
Yeah.
That
Creature-ish features.
Yeah, that obviously then led to the sort of 2010-ish resurgence of all these movies like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Oh, the mockbusters.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get you.
So I think there's been kind of periods of these sort of films coming into the kind of popular movies.
Well, I appreciate you using that term because now I kind of have a better understanding of what it means, and maybe somebody listening will too. So that's cool. Thanks. The other thing here is that there's no getting around, right? That the bad, like, actually, one other thing that I think is clever about this, one thing that's clever about this film is the title.
Yes.
The title is Lake Placid, which suggests tranquil, quiet, peaceful, relaxing. This lake is not that.
It is not that.
So you can at least give it points for having a clever title. It's kind of cool.
Definitely, and they do discuss it during the film.
Do they?
Yeah, so the film's...
I didn't realise that.
The lake in the film is called Black Lake.
Yeah.
And when they're on one of their boat journeys across the lake, they go, oh, this should have been called Lake Placid. Ha 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 ha.
Ah, right.
Sort of moment.
So Lake Placid is actually an area of New York.
Is it?
Yeah. Apparently it's a village next to a lake of the same name, because I've just Googled it just now.
Nice.
So
I wonder how they felt about this movie coming out.
I don't know, didn't come here, we've got giant crocs in the water,
Yeah. I wonder if people go there thinking that's where the film is based.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Maybe it's like when people come here and go to Loch Ness to see the monster. I've been to Loch Ness quite a few times throughout my life and I have not yet seen the monster, but I don't think I won't. I think I might.
I really fancy going. Can we arrange to go?
Yes, we will do that, yeah.
Let's do it.
We've got a few other things on the horizon though, so maybe next year. But maybe we'll fit it in this year. I don't know. It's still early, but we've got a few things coming. So
it's not too far. We'll try and see if we can do it later this year.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting!
Oh, it's class. It's a lovely place. Even if you didn't see a monster, it's class. And if you believe in the sort of supernatural, it is an absolute hotspot for various things. Alistair Crowley had a property at Loch Ness.
Yes, he did.
He did all sorts of things because they believed that Loch Ness was very much a sort of either a sort of channel or like an area of hot, like spiritual activity.
Yeah, there's a theory that within Loch Ness there's actually a sort of dimensional rift.
Yeah,
Or a
something
portal.
like that. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and that's where they think that Nessie kind of comes in and out through this portal,
True. Well, this isn't a cryptid podcast.
and which I would love to do.
I'm
but-
digging into some cryptid podcasts just now.
Oh, are you?
And I'll mention someone to find a pretty good one.
Excellent.
But yeah, because I think I find the whole idea of cryptids, even if you don't think they're real. By the way, just to say, a cryptid is like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monster, the Mothman, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything behind these things? I just find the whole science behind it all interesting.
Yeah, like our world's so vast,
Aye.
and there's so many things left to discover that it's
Totally.
it's not out with the realms of possibility.
No, it's no, and it might be, and it depends what you think. But regardless, it's still interesting these discussions happen,
Yeah.
and that if people have seen something, then what have they saw? If it's not that, then what is it? And then let's find out, and then we learn more about what people actually perceive. Anyway, we're going way off topic now.
I don't think we technically are.
Okay.
Because you could argue that the crocodile in this film could be classed as a cryptid.
Yeah.
Because they say it's prehistoric and all that sort of stuff.
I'll tell you what was definitely a cryptid. The Chop-o-dile.
The Chop-o-dile definitely was a cryptid.
The
sure.
chopper slash crocodile hybrid.
Yeah, there's definitely one of those.
Aye, totally. And other things here too. I've said already, the writing is not good. The dialogue is really weak at times.
Some of the lines are just very confusing, particularly ones that Hector says. I'm just like, I don't understand.
Yeah, oh, totally. And there's poor CGI here, but it was 2000.
Yeah, 25
and
years
so
old.
the CGI might be poor for the time even. I don't know. But the CGI, bearing in mind Lord of the Rings came out the next year. Right?
Yeah.
So, that's the bar was very much raised by Peter Jackson and the team that did Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah.
you can't really compare anything to that.
I would say that I think the crocodile looked pretty good.
It does, because a lot of the time I think it was friggin' prosthetic and very much a physical manifestation of a crocodile.
Yes, I think you're correct.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think the word I'm trying to look for there is practical. Sorry.
Yes.
But yeah, there is that. And I read some stuff online. I did a bit of research, and people were like, it's not innovative. And I hate that, because I'll tell you what, right? No, every film has to be innovative.
No, it doesn't.
It has to be entertaining.
Yes.
And if a film is entertaining, people will pay to see it and then continue to watch it again and again and again. So, a film just being entertaining isn't a dirty thing. It's
Yeah.
actually totally fine, and I fully encourage it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Thank you. I thought you would.
Yeah. With that being said,
Uh-huh. I think I know what you're going to say. I'm excited.
would you like some trivia?
Yeah, I want trivia.
Oh, there's some cracking ones for this film.
I think I've stated this before, but actually the trivia part is probably my favourite bit, because I don't read the trivia. Kat does the trivia part, and I don't read it, so I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, I've got some good ones for you this week.
Sound.
Starting with, the man who created the crocodile for this film was none other than Stan Winston.
Stan Winston.
Stan Winston.
Wow.
Winston also created the monsters for Aliens in 1986 and Jurassic Park.
Do you know, I signed up to Stan Winston's school of makeup effects and practical
Did
effects.
you?
Yeah. So I get emails occasionally, and you sometimes get free classes.
That's
you can
really
just
cool.
watch the stuff. Oh, it's so cool and so interesting.
Amazing.
And there might be stuff on YouTube as well, but I honestly, if in another world, I think I said to you a week or so ago that my dream job really is to voice an animated character in either a TV show or film. It would be amazing. But doing special effects for movies,
That would be cool.
that would be it.
Yeah.
That would be the dream. But I'm too old.
You're never too old.
Maybe no.
Never.
Well, there's plenty of other stuff I've got to crack on with you anyway.
Exactly. We've got our fingers in loads
Excellent.
of
But
pies.
Stan Winston, definitely a huge name in the business.
Well, as I say, I think he did a pretty good job on this
Aye,
one.
and it shows, and no wonder this looks so good if it's him, or his studio. So
Clearly a lot of work and effort's been put in.
aye.
So we kind of already have discussed this next bit of trivia, but it kind of confirms what you were suspecting. The crocodile, as either CGI or animatronics, has about 3 minutes and 43 seconds of screen time throughout the whole film.
And this movie's about an hour and 20. I think. Well, I
Yeah.
told you earlier
It's
whatever
an
it
hour,
was.
1
It's
hour,
on the-
22 minutes long.
Right, aye. So 3 minutes out of that,
Yeah.
we get croc action.
If you push it, it's 4.
That is low.
It is really low. And that's
But the thing is, this is an interesting statistic. If you look into any movie about the amount of screen time a certain character has or a certain thing has, it's really interesting because it's always pretty low.
yeah, and
You're like,
there's
or it's lower than you think it would be. So yeah, very little screen time for the crocodile, and even less for the Chop-o-dile. So
Yeah, actually, maybe the Chop-o-dile has more.
the Chop-o-dile probably takes up most of that 3 minutes.
Oh, easily, yeah. I think Chop-o-dile has got more screen time than the Croc.
Totally. Chop-o-dile.
While they were filming the movie, it had to be postponed due to poor weather conditions. And the director, Steve Miner, took on directing duties for Halloween H2O while he was waiting to shoot Lake Placid.
Halloween H2O has got to be rotten.
Surely.
Now, we've not done this much here on this podcast yet, and Googled in real time to see if a movie is rotten, but I'm going to do it now. So, Halloween H2O, 20 years later, is 56%, so we can do it. But that's only just rotten for
Yeah.
by 3-4%. So,
I'm surprised. I thought it would be lower than that.
aye, but we'll do that.
Yeah,
I'd
we'll
love
add
to
to
do
the
that
list.
because I haven't revisited that one, and I think it's kind of been tossed out as not being canon now or whatever in the Halloween franchise. But it would be really interesting to do because it was one of the first I saw.
Ah, okay.
Because I was obviously quite young. It was 1998 that film came out. So, I was 11. So,
And that kind of makes sense for the timeline of this film as well, that if it was 1998,
Yeah.
because obviously filming would be kind of, if it's sandwiched,
yeah.
either at the start and the end.
I always thought it was H20 or H2O, whatever the hell however you're supposed to say it.
Yeah.
It feels like instinct to say H2O.
Yeah,
I always thought it was that because it was the year 2000, but obviously it's not, because it was 20 years later. So
No, weird. Maybe
there
it is
you go.
H20. Well, we can maybe
So it
dive
must
into
have
this
been
one another day.
78 the original came out then.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Aye. Oh, such a good movie.
Excellent.
Probably
One
one
of my
of the
favourites.
most perfect movies ever made is Halloween, original.
Like, they did so much with so little.
So
It was
great.
incredible.
I know. Anyway, sorry, we're not here to talk about Halloween.
So,
But that being said, we will be talking about Halloween significantly because we're very Halloween-y people.
we are very Halloween people.
So we'll be getting right into the spirit of Halloween in this podcast, hoping at the end of the year. But
Definitely. Something to look forward to.
aye.
So, back to more crocodile facts. The largest crocodile in captivity was Lolong, who measured 6.17 metres or 20 foot and 3 inches, when he died from pneumonia in February 2013 in the Philippines.
Oh.
The crocodile depicted in this movie is supposed to be about 10 feet longer than that.
So the
slightly more.
reality is, like, that crocodile was huge.
That crocodile was huge.
It was 10 feet shorter than the one in the movie. But
Yeah.
the one in the movie is ridiculously large.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, wow, eh?
Would you like to know more about a cow?
You've got cow facts because
Yes.
of Daisy. Mm-hmm. Right, nice, let's do it.
In the scene where the cow appears to be dangling from the helicopter,
Mm.
a live cow was actually lifted in a colic sling by a crane.
What the hell's a colic sling? Is
I
they
have
try and
No idea
do you
what a
think
colic
it's, they
sling is.
lift cows with it to prevent colic or something?
Maybe. I have no idea.
Do you remember the pandas at the zoo were always off show because they had colic?
Oh, all the time, big babies.
So here in Edinburgh, we had pandas for about 10 years. With the pandas, I think we saw them a few times.
Yeah, we did.
They were amazing to see up close, and thankfully, a couple of times we went in, we did see them very much up close, behind glass, and
Yeah.
they're just amazing.
They're much smaller than you think.
They're quite small, yeah, but they're just beautiful, man. I honestly loved it. It was so cool.
You are going to love my last bit of trivia.
Oh,
You're actually going to love it.
class.
In Spain, the movie...
I love Spain.
I
Sorry,
also
I thought
love
I'd just
Spain.
jump in there.
Yeah.
I've been to Spain a few times. Love it. It's gorgeous. It's hot. It's beautiful. The people are great everywhere I've been in Spain.
Yeah, I've never had a bad holiday in Spain.
Nah, sorry.
Well, in the wonderful Spain,
Yeah.
the movie was simply called Mandibulas, which is Spanish for Jaws.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. This was as a tribute to Steven Spielberg's movie because the movie was called Tiburon, apologies for my pronunciation, which is Spanish for shark instead of the verbatim translation of Jaws.
So they use Jaws. That's quite really cool, actually. And I'll tell you what, I actually had a Jaws I drew a parallel with Jaws when we were watching this quite early on because it was the music at the start was cello heavy,
It was cello heavy.
and I was like, oh, aye. You know that thing where Billy Connolly once said, oh, I don't know, I know this was a long time ago. If you've never seen Jaws, it's a film about a shark that plays the cello. Right?
It's so funny.
It's great. And that's because it's so cello heavy. And there was a little bit and I noticed it in the early scenes in the movie, and I think it kind of waned out throughout. I didn't really notice much to do with the soundtrack with this one, but
I thought it was pretty good. But yes, sadly, that's the last bit of trivia I have for you this week.
Unfortunately, given the style and the film and everything, there was no Wilhelm scream here.
Not that I clocked either.
And just to remind you guys, a Wilhelm scream is this. And there was none.
Yeah.
Again, we're keeping our eyes peeled for these because Kat and I do this every movie we watch, and it kind of happened organically throughout the years. where we'd be like, oh, look, and we'd spot one. The biggest example ever being Star Wars.
Oh, see, I would argue that Indiana Jones, all three of the original trilogy
think all
have
of the George Lucas films did have it. So it became an editor's bluff, essentially, I think. You know, but no, we didn't have one in this. So, favourite sounds?
My favourite sound...
Yeah.
So my favourite sound was Hank actually falling into one of Hector's traps.
It's cold. And that's the first one, I think, when he falls into the pit.
It is
Trap.
when he goes into the pit.
Um,
Especially, it's clearly the middle of the night, he's in his pants, he turns around and stomp off, and it's always the same when you're having a little huff.
but I know, it's a great sound, man. It's so funny. And it's that whole shtick with him getting caught in the traps. It's just, I loved it.
As if he didn't like Hector enough. I think
know.
that would be enough to tip me over
As
the
if
edge.
we didn't like Hector enough, but it's also as if we don't love Hank as well. Hank is grumpy and you know, but there's something really likeable about him too. And when you think about it, right, with Hank, you can say he's quite mean to Kelly throughout, but he's no, because Kelly's a dick to him from the get-go.
She slaps him twice.
She actually hits him, which is not appropriate.
It is not appropriate. We don't do a hit.
My favourite sound was when Galaxy Quest guy gets his head chomped off by the croc when he's sort of leaning over the boat and the croc, and it just makes this sound. It just kind of goes. It's the coolest sound.
It is a very crocodile sound.
I loved it. Oh man, class.
Excellent sounds this week.
Yeah. We've got some really good ones this week. Do they say the name of the film in the film, Cat? I believe we just discussed this a moment ago.
We did. They do mention it when they are on one of their many boat journeys across the lake.
But unfortunately, I didn't say they said it because I didn't hear it.
That's okay.
I'll
These
do it
things
with the
happen.
next one. I love it. They said it!
Mikey, would you please read me some of the audience reviews for this film?
Oh, yeah. This is my favourite, well, one of my other favourite bits. But my favourite bit is definitely the trivia.
You'll have to have more than one favourite.
So as usual, we've kind of tried to pick reviews that kind of represent both parties, people who don't like the movie or people who do like the movie. So this first review, the person said, I can understand critics disliking it because they aren't real people. Does he mean critics aren't real people?
Yeah.
To be fair, right, I'm laughing like how absurd that sounds, but we kind of said that initially, not that they're not real people, but that critics don't always represent the populace.
This is it. And
You know?
I think that's demonstrated really by when we see these rotten films, but the tomatometer has such a low score, and often there's a difference between what the audience, popcorn meter says.
They're often very similar too, and there's often the times where critics love a film, but it's not well liked by the audiences. So
Yeah, we've definitely seen that as well.
I get the terminology there, but anyway, I can understand critics disliking it because they aren't real people. But I can't understand how a human being wouldn't like this.
I think that's fair. Like, you know exactly what you're getting. Like, if you just saw the poster for this film and you went to see it in the cinema, it would deliver exactly what you thought it was going to deliver.
I'm going to see a film about a giant crocodile.
What more do you want?
You know? It's a creature feature, and the poster gets that across. Although I would like to disagree in a way with this person, because they say, you know, I can't understand how a human wouldn't like this. And you've said, if you look at the poster, you know what you're getting. But we've just said as well that the film's really dialogue heavy and only has 3 minutes of croc action in it. So
that would be a fair reason to dislike it.
Exactly, aye. The next person said, I loved this movie as a kid. Oh my God, it's me. I loved this movie as a kid. I'll be honest, the first person that got eaten half scared me to death. This is by far my favourite crocodile movie.
Yeah.
I love it. He says it like crocodile movies come out every month.
Yeah, I can't really think of too many other crocodile movies apart from like Crocodile Dundee.
Shall we have a look?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you know what I would like to see? The movie version of the video game Croc.
I don't think I know the video game Croc. Oh, Croc and the Legend of the Gobos.
Aye.
Oh, it's such a good game.
I was wondering, because I know you know what Croc is.
Yeah, I know what Croc
know
is.
this.
Yeah, I was like, but I think I was thinking like horror Croc.
Okay, so there's 6 that have popped up immediately on Google, all right? Crawl.
No, we quite fancied that. That's the one that came out relatively recently, right? 2023, 22?
2019.
Oh,
so it
goodness.
is quite recent still. How fast can you swim?
Is that the name of the film?
Oh, no, it's the tagline. The film's called Rogue. The poster's terrible.
Oh dear.
Primeval, which is not the same as the TV series,
Good. The TV
but it's a
series was rubbish.
20%er, by the way, there. There's a film called Crocodile.
Oh, well, I wonder
from
what that's
2000, which probably was made on the back of this.
I suspect so.
Probably guarantee it's an 18%er. Blackwater from 2007 is definitely a fresh movie. So,
okay.
And obviously Lake Placid comes up on this list. I would like a special mention here, although not a crocodile. The 80s film Alligator, I think it's 1980.
Oh, yes.
Brilliant, man.
That is a good
film
film.
kicks ass. And if you want a creature feature, that's the one, right?
And I think that one's very much the tale of, like, you know, the sewer alligator.
Yeah, you know that whole sort of myth, all these lush alligators down the sewer and they grow, and that's totally what that movie's about. Alligator kicks ass.
Excellent.
Yeah, and so I've been doing this for a while, but I've been working my way through the list of all the movies mentioned in the documentary series In Search of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
If you like horror movies, check out In Search of Darkness. It rocks, right? It's basically three movies. They're about 6 to 6 hours each. So you have to kind of watch them in bits, right?
Hefty.
It's like a TV series each one. And they just talk about movies, horror movies specifically, from horror's best decade, the 80s. And they're so interesting. So I actually went onto their website and you can generate a list and you can tick them off as you watch them. So my goal is to watch all of the movies mentioned in that.
That is quite the goal.
It is, and some of them are stinkers, but Alligator isn't. Alligator's definitely well regarded and people like it.
Can you include this in the list though? Because there's crocodile films specifically.
Well, I can't include Alligator in the list, no. But it was a special mention because I'd feel shit if I didn't mention how great that film is.
Do you know, it's just because this person says that Lake Placid is by far their favourite crocodile movie.
Yeah, of course, sorry.
So, very specific.
Not an alligator movie,
yeah,
crocodile movie.
That's why alligator wasn't mentioned.
That's it. Next one is, it does well what it attempts. Does that make sense? It does well what it attempts. They might not be an English-speaking person, right enough, but it does well what it attempts. A movie about giant crocodiles, plural, so they're a bit of a spoiler there.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Giant crocodiles terrorising good-looking people. Obviously talking about Betty White and Brendan Gleeson there.
Obviously.
Unfortunately, they forgot that this was a movie, so it had to be well crafted when it comes to the script and the shooting. But it's a pretty fun one. So I think what this person is trying to say is that it's not a very well made film, but it's fun, and, you know, I get it, but it's no the best, bless them.
Yeah, and I think they kind of mirror my own feelings where, like, the quality of the film is really high.
Yeah.
Like, it looks amazing. Like, crocodile aside, like, some of the shots of the lake are beautiful.
Yeah,
like, the surroundings are amazing. And, like, the scenes are well constructed.
Yeah.
The content is a bit ropey.
It's the writing.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, but the next person said, what makes this B-movie great is Betty White. Plain and simple. It's ridiculous. It's campy, but it's got enough humour to make a good group watch. Bill is the straight man and tacky all the way through. He never disappoints. Bill Pullman he's talking about there.
Yeah. I think this review could have been written by me.
Yeah. Bill, the thing is, he's right about Bill Pullman. And like I've said this to you as well, Bill Pullman, like, that's how he kind of does that. It's the way he kind of delivers his lines, and he's kind of well known for it. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you feel this is you then?
I feel this is me because I loved Betty White. She was a total star throughout this film.
Friggin' hilarious in this.
And yeah, I think this is the sort of film that I would put on a Friday night with my friends and like eating loads of popcorn, having some drinks, like 100%.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing me and the lads do. So every Christmas, me and the boys have a Christmas movie night, and we put on Christmassy horror films or absolute trash garbage normally, and not all the time. Some of them are belters, and we just have a total laugh. And we didn't even watch it really. We just eat them snacks and we laugh at bits and we rewind our favourite bits normally.
Yeah.
This year we're actually talked about doing it without the sound on and just putting music on and just having a chat and having the movie on in the background.
Wow.
Because we just don't see each other enough, and it's a great chance when we do get together to do that, to just talk and have a laugh. So if the movie's on in the background, you've got the tunes on, you just have a bit of fun, even if it's Christmas music or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I think we're going to try that this year and see what goes. Well, me and Rab talked about that anyway, so we're going to do that. You're right. This person's said it quite rightly, actually, a good group watch. The next review says, a delicious mix of horror and carefully written humorous lines. I'd have to disagree with that. The carefully written part, anyway. The sheriff takes frequent jabs, which are so funny. This is a high quality movie with continuous fun. I recommended it. What? I recommended it. I recommended to my surgeon to watch this flick. That's the most random sentence ever. And then it's got a wee smiley face emoji, like the one with the big cheesy grin.
Yeah, like,
What the hell?
it happens.
I recommended this to my surgeon to watch this flick. What?
Why not? Maybe they've been bitten by a crocodile and went, ah ha ha, it's just like Lake Placid. Surgeon was like, what's that?
Oh, well, it's this banging movie and I'm going to write about it on Rotten Tomatoes about how I've recommended it to you.
You got to fill the time somehow. Hospital stays take a while sometimes.
And the last one we have says, there is something about a deeply unfunny movie that is convinced that it's funny that makes me angry. One of the most unpleasant movies that I have had the misfortune of seeing.
Wait until they start listening to this podcast and they have to watch so much worse than this.
Totally. Well, there's not really a rule that says you have to watch the movie.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
we recommend you do, because then you can have a bit more fun and you know what we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we go into the plot. You know, if you've not seen the movie for a while, you can still listen.
You
but-
can come on the journey with us.
Exactly, aye. This person really felt strongly about this.
They really did.
Oh, dearie, dearie, dear. So, Kat, Lake Placid, fresh or rotten?
For me, this one is fresh.
Cool.
And it's because it's quite entertaining. It's funny at points, it's interesting enough, and I think, as I say, it's a well-crafted film. The content could be improved, but it's by no means the worst one I've ever seen. I'm standing by it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I'm saying fresh too. I've really slated into this movie throughout, but I've said this already, and I think in this episode, I said, you know, we are going to go into the things because we're noticing things that people probably have noticed. We're ripping these films apart because we're trying to show why people might not like them, but also why people might love them.
Mm-hmm.
For me, even a film I love, I'm going to sit and rip into because I know that it's not perfect and I know there's problems with it and I know that we're here to highlight those, as well as the great things too. But for me, I've watched this so many times. It's fun and it's ridiculous, and those lines, man, those lines are just so much fun.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think I want to carry Betty White's spirit, Dolores Bickerman's spirit. I want to take that into my life going forward.
As long as you didn't go lamping me with a skillet, we're all good.
No promises.
Oh dear. And on that note, actually, if you had a favourite line for this one, what do you think it would be?
I think it might be Officer Fuck Me.
I was going to say the same. I'm not even going to pretend and just pick someone else. That is it. Thank you, Officer Fuck Meat.
Yeah.
It's just great. And it's no, and I said this earlier too, it's no intelligent, it's not smart, it's not witty, it's funny though. It's funny.
It
and
is.
I think that is what they tried to do with this.
And also, I think for Betty White, it must just have been so much fun because she played so many lovely characters.
Yeah.
And Dolores Bickerman isn't not lovely, but she's just a real potty mouth.
Totally.
And she's just quite fierce and clearly annoyed. And I really am there for it.
Absolutely. She's great. And if we're talking standout performances too, Brendan Gleeson's great in everything he's in. So
He is absolutely stellar.
he's brilliant in this.
Do you want to know a Brendan Gleeson little side fact that I've got?
Oh, she's got a little bit of side trivia now.
Well,
Let's do it.
it's a bit tangential in that
All right.
a friend of mine's family has a holiday home, and that holiday home is right next door to where Brendan Gleeson's holiday home is.
Is it in Inisherin?
I don't know where it is.
Is Inisherin a place, actually?
I'm not sure.
And again, Kat, would you watch this again?
100% I would.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I've watched it like 100 times. I'd watch it again. So.
Yeah, I'd have no qualms about watching this again.
Totally.
And with that, I think our journey across Lake Placid has come to an end.
Oh.
I know. Don't worry, we'll try and dig up some more crocodile films.
Our journey through Maine / British Columbia is over.
Yeah, the beautiful outdoorsy time that we've had
Yeah.
has come to a close. Our next movie,
Yeah!
it has come under recommendation.
We've asked people what they want us to talk about, and so we will be sliding in requests where we can. We've got lists and lists of movies that we want to cover here, but obviously if people are making requests, then we can't ignore it.
We cannot.
So what movie are we doing?
We are going to cover Van Helsing.
Oh, man, I love Van Helsing.
I'm very excited about this one.
I'm just going to check our records to see who requested it so we can say.
I think it was Michael.
So yeah, it was Michael. Michael requested it.
It's by special request for Michael.
Aye, we'll be covering it, and I'm excited. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us for Lake Placid. Look after yourselves. If you go swimming, try not to get eaten by a crocodile.
And don't trust Betty White.
And don't trust Betty White because she might hit you over the head with a skillet. Oops, we got a wee bit excited there and forgot to mention, if you'd like to email in and tell us what you thought of Lake Placid, or any of the other films we've covered, to recommend a rotten movie, or just to say hello, email us at rankrottenpod@gmail.com. That's rankrottenpod@gmail.com, and you can also get in touch with us on Instagram at rankrottenpod. That's at rankrottenpod. Thank you. Bye.